In 1981, Steven Spielberg brought us a cinematic epic that, while inspired by tales of the past, redefined action heroes for the modern generation. Outrunning boulders and death at every turn, armed with a bullwhip, sidearm, and his wits, Indy's done so much for us. It's time to give back by talking over his body of work and a little something we like to call Indiana August on the Main Street Cinema, the show where we discuss the finer points of filmmaking. That's right, everyone. Tiki here.
And BlueDragonFive.
And SandyClaws.
And we are back for another round of Indiana August. Jacob Wile is here in spirit. Apparently he got too caught up in the cult of Kali Ma. You know, maybe in a precarious situation right now, may or may not still have his heart still intact. We wish him all the best. But Jacob, Jacob does wish to inform us that he is on my side about this movie. That I personally think this movie is a hell of a fun ride, a bold departure from Raiders. It was a risk, and I think it paid off. I think it's underrated, and I think I'm going to have an uphill battle trying to convince these folks about how much I personally really love this movie.
Well, Tiki, before we get in depth to anything here, aren't you forgetting something?
What, the Movie Machine podcast that I forgot to plug last episode?
Yes.
Well, thank you, Ezra. You're more on top of it than me.
English. Do it in English so people can hear it.
That's right, folks. It's what happens when you take four funny people and improv a movie based on a random story generator really, really fast. They're up to episode 25 and counting, and they're just going to hit the stratosphere. It's just so much awesome. It's random improv movie goodness, all kinds of fun guest stars, and the three main panelists that you know and love, Kyle Decker, Jacob Gulliver, and Ben Lifson, all on hotchocolatemedia.net at the Movie Machine Podcast. Check it out. All right. Thank you, Sandy. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Let's see. Dragon, I'm going to let you do the background, but first let's go kind of round table and give our overall opinions on this movie. I don't really have a lot to add, except, like, I personally think this movie it's incredibly intriguing to me. It's bold, it's dark, it hits all the right notes for me in terms of being, like, a sequel to Indiana Jones' Raiders of the Lost Ark that is just entirely on its own ground. It doesn't try to mimic anything that Raiders tried to do. It totally went in a new and different direction. It went in a very occult, supernatural direction. I love it for that. I think this movie kind of reflects B-movies, like, more so than Raiders and Last Crusade did, just because of how dark and how twisted some of the stuff got. I personally really love Short Round as a character. I think he gets a lot of flack, but I really feel like rewatching it, he's a lot of fun, and he brings a lot of levity to the movie, and there's a lot of great synergy between him and Indy. Now, Kate Capshaw is Willie Scott. Yeah, not going to defend her. Easily the dark mark in probably the entire Indy franchise for a long time until we got to Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. But having said that, even Willie Scott, I think, has a few amusing moments, even in a so bad it's good way. I can still kind of laugh at her, if not with her. So
I just laugh at her name.
There you go. There we go. Indy's got to go check on his Willie. You know, that's all he needs to do. He just needs to go check on his Willie.
Jeez.
But no, I personally really love this movie, and I do personally think it's a better movie than Last Crusade, which I know is not a popular opinion at all. So, yep. So, Dragon, why don't you transition us? What do you feel about Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom?
Well, I mean, look, Temple of Doom, basically my thesis statement for my thoughts on this film, I think we get 6 really great, iconic moments from this film, 6 really good moments, but aside from that, the story is really weak. I mean, before Crystal Skull came out, this is absolutely on the totem pole, not because there's 3 movies, because it's just low on the totem pole for me. The other films in here are just so superior. I mean, Raiders isn't even in the equation, because of course that's just it's perfection out of the Indiana Jones films. It's fantastic. Last Crusade, I mean, I thought is really good. It's very much in the spirit of Raiders, but again, we'll save more of that for when we get to Last Crusade. My point is, Temple of Doom, I think it went in a darker direction, and I think it was the wisest move. And just learning, I'll go through the background momentarily, not after my thing right here, but soon. And I'm gonna go. I think I found out some reasons why that might have been. This movie's kind of such a mixed bag. And let's just say,
Well, my wife divorced me, Dragon. I was going through a rough time. You know, in my mind, I'm George Lucas, and I had a lot of demons to deal with.
It's not all on Lucas.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
My point is, they think that. Let's just say the heart wasn't quite in this movie, in the writing, and specifically in the writing.
The heart literally got torn out in this movie.
That's a metaphor. Basically, in terms of the writing, I think the heart just wasn't in it because it was taken out and it was sacrificed to some the color. And
Holy Lucas! Holy Lucas!
I do respect
a giant flaming George Lucas head pops out of the fire
with the giant neck and everything in stone, like a giant, it's like an Easter Island head of Lucas. Anyway, there's sum it up here. So overall, again, Temple of Doom, I just think it's. I do respect its place in history though, because this is a huge, it's a really, very vivid memory field. Because again, this indie went really dark, and of course it was responsible for the PG-13 rating. So again, it's very, very important in the history of cinema. So I do respect it to that regard. But again, I got rewatching it. Not even counting Willie Scott, I do find a lot of problems with the story in this movie.
And rewatching it for me personally, I'm just like, wow, I forgot how much I like this movie and how many bold risks they took with this movie. So there you have it, folks. On this side, we have Tiki, who avidly defends this movie. On this side, we have Dragon, who respects the movie but thinks there's a lot of problems with it. Sandy, that leaves you right in the middle, bro. Where do you?
Yeah, a little bit. Well, of course, they thought, well, Empire Strikes Back was darker than the original, so maybe that'll work for Indiana Jones, and it doesn't because Indiana Jones didn't have the same kind of story as Star Wars, where it was this big ongoing trilogy. That's not the way Indiana Jones works. So if they didn't quite hit the nail on the head there, as Dragon said, I just feel it's a little bit too unnecessarily dark.
Yeah.
It has great effects, great acting. I absolutely love Short Round. He's my favorite character, even above Indy in this film. Willie Scott, not the best of characters, but
She's Barbara Gordon of cinema. She's the Barbara Keane of cinema.
All right, I can actually agree to that, Dragon. Willie Scott is not someone I'm going to defend in this podcast.
I like her because she went on to marry Spielberg, and that's about it.
That doesn't count.
No, you see, to me, that kind of makes her presence even more irritating because she wouldn't have been there if not for Spielberg.
Yeah, because he said to Harrison Ford, "Listen, I got 15 girls to choose from. I'm only going to show you one. Yeah, you sure with that kind of put in mind? Well, I'm not going to hurt the guy's feelings. I'm going to go with whatever he's going to say here."
Okay,
so, yeah,
guys.
All in all, I just think it's too dark, and I don't know, I just don't like it as much as the other ones.
So this is an uphill battle for me. I'm going to have to explain why I don't like fucking Last Crusade as much. I think Last Crusade is still a very fun movie, but I don't like it as much just because I feel like Last Crusade gets a little bit too lighthearted. And I like this one better than Last Crusade because it's willing to take risks and because it's willing to go so dark. So this is an uphill battle for me, but I'm willing to take it.
See, he's pushing the boulder up in this case instead of it rolling down.
That's what I'm doing. I am championing this movie. Out of the three of us, I am definitely the one that is championing this movie. I am a big fan of this movie.
Tiki, you might as well join the other kids in the mine pushing boulders.
I will gladly, you know what? If it means liberating the kids in the mine, then I will gladly be their liberator, sir.
It's evilly Sandy's in the corner. He has like the little voodoo doll.
Yeah, you son of a bitch.
That's what's going on.
Oh, God. Okay, Dragon, so I believe you have some background info here?
Yeah, so here's a summation of what brought us this film we're talking about today here, folks. Basically, when Raiders is being pitched by George Lucas, kind of the Indiana Jones character as a whole, as someone to invest some movies in, he's pitching it to Spielberg in their kind of old traditional Hawaiian vacation, and Lucas kind of fibbed to Spielberg that he had 3 stories in mind because Spielberg said basically if he invested in the Indiana Jones character, directed the first movie, he'd want kind of a trilogy to work with. Which, if you direct the Raiders, he's more looking forward to doing kind of a trilogy, kind of a franchise of a character, and that's when Lucas said, "Oh yeah, sure, I got more, three stories with Indiana Jones, certainly. And of course, he did not, so we had to figure out what was going into this one. So it's kind of funny that Lucas kind of altered his statement there. So as it turned out, Raiders had so many awesome scenes, they had to delete a few ideas from the making of the first film, and a lot of those moments ended up as material for Temple of Doom. And the big moments, in particular, at least three sequences that were going to be in Raiders were kind of repurposed for this, which is kind of a cool notion.
Can I guess?
Would you like to guess?
I would like to guess. How about the minecarts? Were the minecarts originally Raiders?
That's a big one.
What about cutting the rope bridge?
No, that's not from Raiders.
No? Oh, okay.
What about Indy on the elephants?
No, that is not from Raiders either.
Nope. What about the gross food sequence?
No, it's only three scenes. Minecart's one where the other two, and it's not the food.
Ripping the heart out? I don't know. I'm kind of running out of guesses.
Okay, let me just spell it out for you.
Okay, I'm sorry.
One of these you absolutely should have known when we went through Raiders of the sword fight, the deleted sword fight.
Oh, right, okay, that makes sense. Yeah.
There's the sword fight, the river rafting, and the minecart chase. Those are the three sequences that made their way into this movie that were kind of deleted from this. And there's also a sequence in this movie that ends up in Last Crusade. We'll get there when we get there, or I'll save it for Last Crusade. We'll see what
that would have been pretty cool, river rafting with Nazis.
All right, let's see. So then they had the idea to go a little. Lucas originally had the idea. Let's go a little darker with the second movie, kind of like Empire, and that worked out very well for Empire. Let's kind of go in that direction. Spielberg was intrigued by the creative challenge of going in a darker direction. At the time, the two were kind of in troubled marriages. Lucas is going through a divorce, and Spielberg, who eventually got divorced with his first wife to marry the leading lady of this film. Basically, he was going through a tough time in his marriage. The two of these guys were in kind of sour moods at the time. That's the idea. And as they're working out the story, George Lucas opted to call it a prequel for the dumbest reason I'm going to tell you. So I think it's a really dumb reason. That always bugs the crap out of me, because this movie does. Aside from one detail, it's not a prequel, it's a sequel, but they call it a prequel.
The only reason it's a prequel is because it's like it should be pre-Marion and not post-Marion.
It's basically for two reasons they made a prequel. Here are the reasons. One, the dumb reason they made it a prequel, Lucas suggested they make it a prequel, which again, technically it is a prequel, which still bugs the crap out of me. He said, purely not to have Nazis in as the villain. You don't have to... He's not even... My point is, he wants...
Yeah, that is one thing where it's like, just because the setting is so radically different, you could have easily had, like, this cult of Kali Ma in the middle of the Indian people and not have anything to do with Nazis and still have it being set in the same time period.
So as far as I'm concerned, this movie's a sequel, just they say the year wrong at the beginning. That's the only...
But what about the Willie Scott and Marion Crane? How do you explain that?
Marion Raven, but not Crane. Crane's the thing we have to contend with at Bates Motel.
I know, I'm sorry, I keep making that mistake. But how do you make the... how would you explain Indy not being with Marion?
Well, here's the thing. I'm glad you asked. So Spielberg
I think Indiana Jones is just Flusy or something.
Well, here's the idea. So Spielberg was considering working Marion and her father, and with it being a prequel, the idea of floating in there, but that didn't pan out. And the other thing is that basically when they were kind of plotting it, just if we'll do any more Indiana Jones films, we'll do like Bond, there's a new girl each movie. So that's just going to be their way of kind of getting around that. So, maybe things didn't work out, and even when we see her again in the franchise, they don't explain what happened. It's just kind of it's in the air of like, okay, well, it kind of ran out.
Okay.
I'm just saying, point is, like, from the get-go, they knew they weren't planning on really connecting things, and this is like, the whole prequel thing was like a little hair of like, what if we did kind of connect things with it being a prequel, and they just like, nope.
Well, I think, as you said in the Raiders podcast, Tiki, that whole kind of relationship thing would kind of wear thin, what with him running all over the place.
Yeah, that's very true.
So I'm sure, I like
the idea of this being an earlier adventure from Indy, just to kind of highlight how things can get darker from what he's experienced in Raiders. And it kind of, to me, it almost kind of adds a dimension to his character in Raiders in a way, looking back on it. Because he goes through so much shit in this movie that you can kind of tell he's even more seasoned when you go back and watch Raiders after watching this movie. Does that make any sense?
It makes a little sense, but then we can just assume all that, though. We can assume he's been through the ringer. He knows what he's doing. We don't really need to see it in that kind of graphic detail, I see what you're
guess so.
saying. I get what you're saying, though. I mean, I kind of disagree with it, I guess.
I mean, of course, the one thing we also have to bring up, Dragon, were you going to mention the PG-13 thing?
Well, yeah, I was going to save that for the end. But...
Okay, go ahead. Keep going.
Almost through it. Anyway, so as they're figuring out the story, here's kind of the evolution of the story. So the original plan was to for the movie to take place in China, as the opening sequence alludes to. It was going to involve the Monkey King legend. They were kind of in talks of doing that legend. Yeah, the Monkey King, kind of the trickster. Yeah. Anyway, so they're going to talking about the Monkey King legend being involved in some way. Eventually, they were trying to Lucas. This also goes for Last Crusade. Lucas trying to work in the haunted castle for the first time in this movie. And interestingly enough, so Lucas just had the the set location premise, the idea of kind of setting the movie in one location for the whole film, which we do get in this film. So again, the haunted castle did have shades in this film. You see where the idea kind of landed in this movie. And then it kind of led to, okay, well, let's make it a Temple India based on the 1939 there's a movie called Gunga Din, which is kind of like a 1930s. We go to China adventure. And it's kind of like China in the 30s. And that's kind of where I'm thinking of the other thing, India for the sorry, the Gunga Din.
We did a lot of occult stuff in that movie. A lot of the same kind of imagery that made its way into the Kali Ma sequence.
Yes, so a lot of that is definitely kind of in the tone and atmosphere of Gunga Din. That one. Anyway, so then to do that, Lucas knows very little about it. Based on that movie, he doesn't really know much about India, so he brings in writers who are very familiar with India, who he knows. I'm going to tell you what he knows them from. We have Will Huck and Gloria Katz, who came in to do the writing on this. Kasdan, I think this is so telling, this detail right here. Lawrence Kasdan, excellent writer. He didn't return because he didn't like the dark direction of this film. He opted not to return because he thought it was the wrong direction to go.
Well,
why is move on his part?
Writers make mistakes, Dragon. What can I say? Because this movie is awesome.
It's awesome, but I honestly understand where he's coming from. The direction, they did it.
Why would they deliberately try and repeat themselves with Raiders? Why would they want to just do exactly the same thing again?
I'm not saying you don't have to repeat yourself. You just need to go in kind of completely opposite direction, though.
Exactly, and they did this because it worked for
Star
Wars.
Think about it. If they didn't go in the complete opposite direction with this, then we wouldn't have this movie be as unique and memorable as it was.
I'm not saying there's not good stuff in this movie. I'm just saying that I see.
I can barely remember anything in The Last Crusade outside of the tank and the final trials at the end.
Well, there's other good stuff in
I can barely remember Last Crusade. Last Crusade to me is the most forgettable out of all the indie movies.
I could honestly name each scene in order in that movie.
I'm with them there. Again, there's the beginning. We're not going to talk. Let's not get sidetracked, sir. Let's just. Anyway, point is, what I'm saying with Kasdan, part of me thinks Kasdan. I would have been interested to see what Kasdan would have done with this movie. Had they kind of altered the direction. Even if Kasdan could have made the dark direction work, I would have liked to see what he.
You don't need every indie movie to be all smiling sunshine and rainbows and just hey, let's just frolicking fun adventure the whole time.
I mean, Tiki Raiders had exploding heads. I don't think there's much.
Faces were melting and imploding, and a guy was impaled in the first 5 minutes.
I don't think there's going to be many daisies involved.
Look, my point is, I'm saying if Kasdan kind of found a way to make that story work, I would have liked a darker story to work. I would have liked to see how.
Exactly.
I think these guys, I don't think, and let me tell you what these guys have done in the past. I'm not holding this against them entirely. I just want to highlight what how they knew Lucas. These are the writers that wrote Howard the Duck.
Yes, and American Graffiti. Come
That's
on
fair.
now.
That's fair. That's what I'm saying. Don't judge me. I'm just saying, let's factor all the credentials here. Hey, let's see. Almost through the background. The last thing is when they're shooting, they couldn't shoot in India without major constraints because they wanted to shoot the Maharaja's actual palace, but there's so many because India at the time they were really sensitive about how they're being perceived in this movie. That is kind of something to hold against the movie in some scenes, though.
Yeah, but at the same time, I kind of
We'll get to it.
It makes this movie a little bit of a time capsule to a time before PC and overly sensitive, being overly sensitive about stuff like that. And to me, while you can't necessarily defend stuff like that, it does make the movie kind of fascinating in kind of a historical time capsule, sort of way.
Anyway, so end it all here. So basically, the film's content ended up being so dark, and yet, I mean, even for a PG movie, it is rather dark. It's super dark for a PG movie, and Spielberg, he ends up kind of calling Jack, because they were in battles between, is it going to be PG or
I
R?
mean,
And
I
they kinda
think this
landed
movie
on-
has like a 10-minute low of lows scene. Other than that, I don't really think it's that much darker than what Raiders did. I just think that the low of this movie is definitely the darkest that Indy ever got. I don't think it's dark and depressing all the way through. I very much don't think it's dark and depressing all the way through at all.
Your hero is drinking blood from a severed head, and for a PG
Yeah, and that's
film,
what I'm saying though. That's like a 10-minute sequence of the movie, and you guys are judging this 10-minute sequence as if it's the whole thing. I think there's a lot of fun elements of this movie, but the dark elements kind of make it stand out more, and to me, just make it more memorable.
Well, we'll get into it. My point is,
I'm sure we will.
10 minutes or not, the point is there's a lot of dark content in this PG film they kind of land on between the two, and you can understand why they're kind of leaning between it. If there were only two ratings between PG and R, you can tell why they might kind of be leaning towards kind of the latter on that. Henceforth, Spielberg calls his pal Jack Valenti, who we've met in Freakazoid, by the way, the actual guy.
Yes.
He calls Jack Valenti, the guy in charge, one of the guys in charge of the MPAA, and basically kind of tells him, well, I wish there was kind of a rating in between you, because again, it's not exactly PG, it's not exactly R. So if there's something like PG-13 or PG-14, Jack Valenti calls him back. And also, Gremlins came out at the same time, so Gremlins also factored in this decision. It was also kind of a movie, kind of really, kind of a lot of dark stuff, and while it was, a lot of humor, and it was a mixed bag.
Gremlins was very offbeat. Yeah, it was definitely like it had a lot of elements going for it. It was like a boy and his dog movie. At the same time, it was also like a horror movie.
The point is that movie coming out, and also Spielberg having the clout that he does, it ended up getting us the PG-13 rating, which we now have. And with the critics and the fans, it's a bit of a mixed bag. But it's a film that's debated upon. That's all she wrote. That's the background.
All right, so I guess let's just jump right into the commentary then. I think this should be an interesting discussion, to say the least. So, folks, if you're wanting to watch along with us with the movie, go ahead and get to timestamp 000 on whatever format you're watching this on. And if you don't feel like pulling up the movie, we're going to do our level best to just do this as a commentary. I am the one that's going to passionately defend this movie throughout. Sandy and Dragon, I guess you are just my rivals.
We're your whipping boys.
I guess so. So it'll
With
be
indie whips.
So it'll be an interesting conversation. So I think we're not going to have to try that hard to make it a fun conversation outside just being a commentary on the movie. So, all right, you guys ready? You guys all sync to timestamp 00?
Yeah.
All right. Kali Ma, we'll see you in hell in 1, 2, 3, go.
I love this running gag with the Paramount logo.
So much to like about the intro to this movie right off the bat. This is one of my favorite. I mean, no, nothing is going to replicate the impact of the Raiders opening scene, and they don't try. They go in a completely, totally different direction, a direction that entirely subverts your expectations, and that's what I love about this opening.
Well, Tiki, I mentioned the 6 moments. 3 of them are coming from the Leftover Raiders idea, but this is one of the other moments. I really like those. It's a great little opening.
I mean, it's such an inspired way to just kind of like, it opened, like, there we go. We have Indiana Jones, but we have kind of like the Willie Scott obscuring the title, which, I don't know, maybe that's...
The one thing she can do right, she can sing.
Maybe that's a little bit of symbolism right there for how she's going to affect the rest of the movie. But, no, like I said, what's brilliant about this is that it entirely subverts what you think you're going to get from the opening of an Indiana Jones movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you know what the origin...
Go ahead, sorry.
The origin of this thing was George Lucas had the idea of, like, let's open with a musical number because he knows that Spielberg's been aching to do one. This says, hey, Steven, you're a frustrated musical director. Why don't you do it? And this lavish, superb kind of production design here is really accentuated by a musical number.
We're about to get into the confusing part of this musical number, though.
Tiki,
Tiki,
I love this whole opening scene.
No, but seriously,
not just the musical, but the whole scene in what's it, Tokyo or.
But she goes. This does kind of bother me though. She goes into that dragon head.
I think it's Hong Kong.
But she goes into it's Shanghai.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, you're right. I don't know. But it's
she goes into that dragon head, and then there's this like giant soundstage with like dancers, and then they all just kind of go out of the dragon head again. It's like, what the fuck is up with this random giant soundstage room?
Exactly.
But it looks awesome, though.
Yeah, it looks awesome, Dragon. I'm not going to deny it looks awesome, but like in the context of Club Obi-Wan, of course, this is Club Obi-Wan that we're in right now. Yay, Star Wars Easter egg. But like, it doesn't make sense within like the blueprints of Club Obi-Wan to just have this giant soundstage to do this elaborate musical number with.
I mean, freeze frame on one of these images without the opening credits. It's like, okay, maybe you'd find this in Orphan Annie, but not in Indiana Jones.
I love the Kalima foreshadow here with the whole ripping the red thing out.
Right.
I thought it was great, the old heart ripping thing. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to trash.
Okay, so look, she just goes right back out of the dragon head, as if nothing ever happened, as if that soundstage just didn't exist.
You know what's so funny? The fact she's singing Anything Goes, and her personality is quite the opposite in the film. The absolute opposite of Anything Goes with this lady. Oh yeah, Shang, you're
I actually think there's
not in Hong Kong though. I don't know.
I love this waiter. I love this waiter saying, "Be careful."
Yeah.
Really good setup.
I wish this villain here was like the actual villain of the entire film.
I really like this villain, Lao She, or it's Lao She.
Yeah, Lao She.
Lao She was cool. Because again, it's like Indy kind of going up against the Chinese mob. It's really neat.
Yeah.
And ladies and gentlemen, this is the closest that we will ever see Harrison Ford to playing James Bond.
Well, then again, he has a team-up movie with James Bond, so that's pretty
fair
close
enough. Fair enough.
But you're right, though. I love him in the white jacket and kind of the classy Indiana Jones. It's basically the closest Spielberg's ever going to get to working with James Bond. Well,
right.
Again, aside from the next movie, not counting that. Yeah.
Okay,
by the way, she couldn't dance in that dress, by the way. That's why she was kind of a little shuffle during the dance number.
I mean, there's no excusing Willie Scott here. She just kind of inserts herself in the conversation. She really shouldn't be in the movie. That's what really bothers me about her character.
To give her a little bit of slack, I mean, this opening scene, I think she's tolerable in this opening scene. But, she's kind of thrown into it, and she's kind of like, what the heck's going on here? And again, they're kind of, I see what they were. Later on in the scene, she gets a little, when she's kind of going for the diamond, it's really unlikable. By the way, I do think it's kind of dark right off the bat for Indy. I mean, there was some darkness in the beginning here, Tiki. Let's not get her. I mean, he's starting the woman with a knife to her side, an innocent woman here. It's kind of dark. Our leading here is putting the knife to the girl's side as he's conducting a business deal, just kind of wanders out.
This table here, he just spins it around. That's awesome.
That is. I love that. That's so great. It's how you do a handoff scene, like when you're doing the mafia. It's awesome. It feels so classic too. It's like it's glass. It's awesome kind of glass table thing. I mean, it's a fun sequence, don't get me wrong. I mean, I like really inserting yourself in this case is fine. I just wish they kind of dropped her off before she went on the rest of the adventure, though. That's what really bugs me.
I think especially like there are plenty of places that they could have just like pieced out.
Yeah, because they're going for like the classic '30s nightclub singer with her, and I get that. I respect that, but then again, getting her a few one-liners here, that's fine. Just later on, she's so out of place. That's where it really grades on the movie. Like right here, it's like she screwed up the bad guy's plan too. Like, hey, we're trying to get him to drink the poison, lady. Sit down. Sorry, I'm so caught up in Lao. Lao is so cool here.
No, yeah, Lao Che is definitely one of the best, like one-off indie villains. I think he only has one scene, but he's really memorable in it.
Oh, yeah. Heck yes.
And I tell you one thing, though, I love this. I love Wuhan. I love the Wuhan reveal coming up.
Oh, I do too. I love everything about that. To me, it's almost kind of like how Indy and Short Round might end up in the future.
Yeah, you gotta remember that. There were 3 tickets bought to go to the next place they were going to, and again, Wu was supposed to go with them. I'm so bummed out. Why can't Wu go instead of Willie? Like, why do you have to die? We love Wu. Woo.
It did make for a really emotional moment, like kind of right off the bat.
I do think it's a great thing to put, kind of remind us of, Indy, when he goes on these adventures, people are in danger. And that's what they're going for later on when things get really dark, that, Indy's friend, is in danger. And you care about him. Well, you care about one of the two. I think this is a clever business tactic for Lau here. Well, okay, I'm gonna get the diamond and the ashes.
And there's so much going on with this scene because it's like now we're gonna get into the brawl where Indy's struggling to stay conscious with the poison.
Yeah.
Keep
Again,
the
this is all
girl.
fun
I
stuff.
find another.
Yeah, this is all really fun stuff. And again, woo to the rescue.
Oh yes.
Awesome. And also, I love this as a classic thing. You've seen a bunch of times. I don't know if it stemmed from this movie, but the point is like the old classic wine glass reveal, like when someone's been shot. You basically you see the wine glass is broken, then the red spot shows up. That's classic. It's a way to go, but always a classy way to go. I love the kind of the sense of family with Lally. He was like an idiot son who Indy spared his life because he's so incompetent. But yeah, this is really sad though. And I followed you on many adventures, but into the unknown, the great unknown mystery. I go first. Indy. Oh, it's so sad. And seeing Harrison Ford's acting here, he's dying, but he's kind of in the process of dying right now. He's doing such a great job at it.
Yeah, it really is like kind of sets the mood right away of like, okay, this is a higher stakes indie adventure than Raiders of the Lost Ark, I think.
And that's good. Again, this opening. So again, where do you guys come down on this? Do you think it's an opening, or do you think it's just
shish kebab?
Come on, that's great. That's fucking wonderful right there.
I mean, that's spectacular darkness. I'll take spectacular darkness. If you're gonna die, flaming shish kebab death.
And again, I love this whole concept of the nightclub brawl where Indy's not at his best. He's been poisoned, so he's like practically unable to stand up. It's like it puts him in such a vulnerable position right at the start.
Was that really necessary? Him punching the lady? Did we really need that? Did they have to punch the cigarette girl? That's like the one thing, though.
I don't know.
It's a great sequence of that, and why is I hate the fact Willie's like she's searching for this diamond the whole way. She takes the antidote. Like really, really prickish for Willie Scott to do that.
I love how the band is just playing like it's normal.
That is great, though. That is excellent. She's so grubby, She's always I want the diamond. It's kind of I don't know if that's a Citizen Kane reference, that kind of the guy dancing with the girls like that, but I don't know.
It could be.
Maybe a vague one. I'm not saying it's like correct, So I mean, right off the bat, right here, with Willow's doing on the floor, it's like right off the bat, she's not trustworthy, and she's really definitely out for money.
Symbol right to the face.
I do like the. Yeah, I do like.
And here we go. It's like the whole reason she gets involved in the adventure is.
Yeah, don't take the antidote. Just leave it, and now you're involved.
Yeah. Now you're involved, now, lady. Good job. Good job. Now we all have to suffer through you.
So where do you guys come down? So you guys view this as like as kind of our cold open. Basically, when they get on the plane, do you view that as the
when he gets on the plane and we see the Lao Che reveal, then I think that's the end.
Because technically, like even in Raiders, it kind of blends into the main plot, but it's in a very minor way. It blends into the main plot. Just aside from setting stuff up, it's to mention that he's talking to Marcus Bro about what happened in the opening. So it kind of connects loosely. And this one connects in a bigger way because, we got Willie Scott.
But I like that it connects in a bigger way, honestly. It kind of keeps the momentum of the film going a lot more.
Well, I'm just questioning, does it count as a cold open or just the main plot?
I think it counts as a cold open.
Okay, I mean, because, again, it doesn't really have, like, a little
this is the only time we see Indy in the suit the whole movie. It's very unique action. It's Indy in an urban setting, which we've never seen before.
Yeah, because I'd like to think of it that way. I'm just saying, it's not like the James Bond movies where you have like opening credits to separate them. You kind of have to find out when it kind of starts and ends.
Well, I think there's a clear-cut point that we can point to.
I mean, I think you're on the money with that too. You guys wanted to kind of clarify. It's going to get into it. So I think it's a debate people might have.
Great opening to Short Round here.
Short Round is wonderful in this movie. Rewatching it as an adult, I'm like, okay, I don't really mind Short Round at all. He's just a lot of fun. He's so energetic. Club Obi-Wan, there we go, not so subtle Star Wars reference.
And now there's something that was changed in the original draft when they had the opening in China. It was going to be a motorcycle chase on the Great Wall, which did sound pretty awesome.
I can understand how that would be very hard to get the
Yeah.
Chinese government to let
That's
them
the thing.
shoot
That's why they opted not to do that. But it sounds like a pretty cool idea, though, right?
Yeah, but I do think this car chase through Shanghai is
Yeah.
also very well done.
I hate how stupid Willie is in this scene, though. She's like, yeah, I'm not that kind of girl. Like,
Fucking drop the gun because the gun's too hot.
yeah, I broke a nail. Oh my god. Again, she's cinematic Barbara Keane, Tiki. She is.
But at the same time, look how much kinetic energy is going on in the scene.
Well, yeah, of course. I'm saying barring
It's so fun.
blurring kind of the black hole of screen time on the screen and the sequence dress right there. It's fine.
I know. I'm just trying to defend how fun this chase scene is. I know that the character's not great.
I just love that. I love people using Tommy guns. It's awesome. I know it's simple. It's like, you know, using Tommy guns. And,
Oh, here we go with the
here's
gun.
the guns.
Oh, it's too hot! I broke a nail!
But again, I'm sorry to kind of double back. Like, it's just with the stuff she's doing here. Again, like, she put the antidote inside the costume and he's saying, well, I'm not that kind of girl. What are you moron? He's trying to not die. Okay, here's a cameo coming up. We got Dan Aykroyd coming up.
Yeah, Aykroyd himself.
Yeah, and also, you don't see... It's kind of hard to make him out here, but you also have Spielberg and Lucas are in this airport somewhere. I don't know where. I've heard that they're in this scene. He's like, might be some of those guys in line behind him.
Uh-huh.
Little Easter egg. But yeah, again, big old Dan Aykroyd here, and he's pretty funny, too. It's at short notice. And also gives us a glad of, oh, wait, Billy Scott, she's a
Okay,
famous
guys,
American
this
singer.
is one of my favorite moments in the whole film right here. Nice try, Lao Che. Just seriously, how triumphant and at the same time ominous is that shot where it's like you get Harrison Ford all triumphant and then he closes the door and we realize that he's in a trap.
And to be fair, that is the Indiana Jones model to a T of, like, he gets out of one mess into another.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Again, good opening scene.
This is basically where I think the movie kind of fades. Like, this is kind of like the plane flying off is kind of like the break of the cold open, I think.
Well, yeah, I think just to verify that, taking it's the plane going,
Especially
going up,
because
and
that kind of mimics the cold opening in Raiders as well.
yeah, and the theme's playing.
And then also he transitions from the suit to the
Yep.
traditional indie garb right here. So
But I think you're absolutely right about that being the marking of the opening act being up. Because again, even if you did not see the opening act, you just can jump in the movie at this point. Okay, now it's just a random girl on the plane. Now he's just saying, I don't want to be here.
right.
We don't want you to be here either, sweetheart. Again, right here, she's so opinionated. You haven't been able to take your eyes off me. How you just... Oh, you're the worst type of person. You just... so opinionated, that Willie Scott. Okay, we should also mention, as bad as...
This is a beautiful shot right here.
Oh, yeah.
And as bad as Willie Scott is, Cape Capshaw and Spielberg really hit it off during this. You know, the casting pretty much is love at first sight, and that's why he kept her on this movie. So, I mean, while she's a bad character, I think Spielberg's a little distracted. That might be why.
Fair enough.
He was in love. He was falling in love, which is a beautiful thing. But again, you have to fall in love with the main star.
They stop at what's like Chongqing or something. Why doesn't Willie get off the plane?
Are you sure they stopped, or they just passed over it?
I think they stopped. I mean, they went right to it.
No, I think they passed over it.
Well,
Yeah, because I would assume that.
Why did they just fly in a straight line? Why did they go right to it then?
I don't know.
Oh well.
It's just to signify the places they're passing over. And
Yeah.
I got to question this, though. Again, no, this leads to another spectacular sequence, but I got to question. A little convoluted. Why don't you just kind of shoot them while they're asleep, you know? Like stab them while they're asleep or something.
You keep the plane.
Yeah, keep the plane,
Yeah,
keep
exactly.
all the poultry.
That's what I'm saying. You're kind of wasting a lot of money to kill these guys.
I
mean,
think it'd be a better death if they just flew right into the mountain, because then it's not that sudden. They know their death is coming.
I mean, it's his plane, though. He doesn't have to make it look like an accident. It's not like a commercial airline or anything.
Having said that, I do like how this film is just absolutely relentless from the jump of the action. It's like, oh my god, we just got out of one situation and now we're in another.
Yeah, but I do like him trying to wake him up with a hat.
You call him Dr. Jones!
Yeah. Again, Indy does have some great one-liners in this film. Though, like when he's saying, well, she says, "Do you know how to fly?" He says, "No, do you?" It's just so genuine the way he says it. Like, no, I don't know how to. It's so cheery though. He says, "No, I don't know how to fly. Do you?" And remember, Indiana Jones, he can fly, yes. Well, at this point, no, because apparently it's a prequel. Fly, yes. Land, no.
Right.
We definitely know he still can't land.
He's like Launchpad McQuack. And this is just like, I don't know, the suspense in this scene is just very well done, because it's like, you just really genuinely get the feeling like the plane is falling and, you know, crashing into the mountains. I really love this whole opening right here.
Again, this is the one from Raiders. No wonder it's like such a good idea. You know, it's so fun.
Right.
The one Willie Scott line I do like in the movie is "It's so bad it's good." Is when she says, "We're not sinking, we're crashing."
Yes.
I'll give her that. I mean, again, I think it's so bad it's good. You know.
We're crashing. And guys, I got to admit, this effect is pretty phony baloney right here.
Well, I mean, coming up when they're like going down the mountain, right?
No, I mean this right here as well.
Well, I see. Right now, it seems pretty good. They're just kind of falling in midair. Oh, it doesn't look too bad.
Those poor chickens. Oh.
Yeah, poor Camilla.
Oh God.
I don't know. The effect looked pretty good to me. I mean, it was, you know. Oh,
I think it's more cheesy what's coming up here.
That's what I'm saying. I think this is noticeable. The other
right.
one just seemed like, you know, just coming down. This now you can kind of see it's like, you know, it's falling in, but it's still the cool idea though. Of like,
okay, it's a cool idea, but the effect is just kind of like, we're falling
with style.
But seriously, how relentless is that we just went from the Shanghai car chase thing, the nightclub brawl, and now we're getting all of this. We're getting the plane crash. We're getting the raft.
Yeah, her dialogue in this is terrible though. Just like, I'm getting all wet. I hate getting wet. Yeah. I hate you. What was Kate Capshaw thinking? What were the writers thinking? More so.
Yeah, especially after Marion.
I'm sure the writers loved it.
Dragon, like I said, there is nothing I can defend about Willie Scott. It's like I have all the shots at her you want.
Yeah.
All right, guys, I'm gonna have to step away for a couple minutes, but
we'll go through while you leave us alone.
Yep. But I'll leave my movie running and everything. So.
All right. I mean, still, I love this going this river rafting idea. Where it plays a lot better than. I mean, they kind of rehashed it in Indy 4, don't they? Well, I mean, just kind of going down all the rafts and everything, you know, going down all the waves, the waterfalls. Still, just, you know, evading a plane crash through a raft and going through the snow and ending up in the water. That is pretty spectacular, though, in Notion, you know.
Oh yeah, no. Sorry, I forgot Tiki wasn't here.
Yeah.
Funny. I guess I shouldn't say this. I'll wait. I was going to say something here, a little fun fact.
So I gotta tell you, this is one of my. Again, he walks away when I have a big story issue, big surprise, big story issue.
And Kate Capshaw's hair here is like perfect. she just got out of a big river chase and now.
Yep. She's dry as a bone. Anyway, no, but seriously though, the story was this is all very convenient. Just by chance, Willie Scott has to join him, and Indy lands in a random place, and he gets roped into this returning the mystical item plot. Like again, he ends up here, he's just wrapped up into this. And I just think it's a little convenient.
Way too convenient.
But it's not that he was going here at all. He just literally landed in like close to a little outside of Sri Lanka.
Yeah, and you know, one of the things I like about this film is it has a very, very dark tone to it, but at the same time it also has a very big tone of hope. Like at the end when all the children come back.
Yeah, I mean that you're absolutely right, Sandy. That's great. And I respect the setup here of like seeing this is like a kind of a realistic dark thing, which I do appreciate. Like we see kind of like famine and kind of desperation in this village here.
Yeah.
And later on, we do have like some hope infused in the end there, which I mean that's good. That's very solid. That's the way to do. And this scene, I love this bit. This is such a great Indiana Jones character bit here, where he tells him, you can tell Willie Scott very strongly, I'm not putting your BS right now because these people, they don't, it's this is more than these people eat in a week, and they're offering this to you, so you're going to eat it and you're going to like it.
Yeah.
So again, just he's being so stern and so direct with her. And Indiana Jones having respect for other cultures. That's always a great thing with this character. Because again, he's an archaeologist at heart. He's a very smart guy at heart. Very, very solid for his character,
Yeah.
Eat it, Willie. Eat it. And I love the fly thing here. She's trying to move the fly. Looks very vile and disgusting, but again, let's more than a week, so you gotta choke it down. Look like you like it, even though you're gonna spit it out, in a napkin or something. Not that there are any napkins in.
And now this I guess I'll call him this Indian chief here, the guy with the.
No, he's the shaman. He's credited as shaman.
The shaman.
Yeah, I think he's just credited as like kind of shaman.
Now, you probably already know this, but for the people out there who don't, Spielberg had to read this guy each of his lines. That's why he would pause like a few seconds in between.
Yep, absolutely.
So
and that's why he has the mannerisms too. That's why he does like the monsoon and he wipes the head, because Spielberg's literally reading this to him. He basically, it's a language barrier thing. He's kind of reading him the English version so he can kind of simulate the sound of it.
Yeah.
All right, I'm back.
So Tiki, you walked out during the big story problem. Again, it's very convenient. Just by chance, Willie Scott has to join him as Indiana lands in a random place and is roped into returning the mystical item. Very convenient.
I don't really mind that, though, just because it makes the story very self-contained. It's like, it's not some giant treasure hunt. It's more so just Indy's own self-preservation, really. It's like he's doing what he can to get out of the situation. He's doing what he can to survive. He knows he really doesn't have anywhere else to turn to but these people.
And it's also like it's a nice opposite from Raiders, where he went on the adventure. He wasn't.
That's exactly what I'm saying. Yeah, that's why I don't personally mind the change in direction with the quest. I think it's more small scale, which I think is appropriate because this movie's darker. Hold on, there's this shot with Short Round where Short Round mimics Indy's hand movements that I really love. Has that come up yet?
I love it when Short Round in the background is wearing Indy's hat. I think that looks really, really nice.
Yeah,
right there, just wearing the hat.
There's one shot in particular, though. I think it happens like right at the tail end of the scene. Right here. Check this out.
Yeah, he mimics the little hand.
I love that. That's one of my favorite Short Round moments right there.
I tell you, the shaman's a little pushy.
He's a little pushy, yeah, but at the same time, I mean, wouldn't you be desperate if all the kids from your village just suddenly disappeared?
Well, like you ask him, he says, you will do this.
Yeah, well.
This guy's voice is hilarious. I was stolen from here.
Yeah.
And here's another thing about the sequel prequel thing for me is the little language detail. The fact that Indiana Jones in this movie, I'm not saying he has to know every language, which still could make this fine. I'm just saying I think it's better. Wouldn't it be a better character arc if at the beginning of Raiders he didn't speak Jovito, so after that encounter he's going to learn a lot of languages, so now he would know how to speak the direct Indian.
Probably Hindi.
Hindi, sorry. Yeah, Hindi.
Yeah.
Indy speaks Hindi, whatever. you know what I mean, though. It's if they wouldn't it be kind of like him bettering himself since his kind of misstep in the beginning of Raiders?
I could see that potentially.
But again, being a prequel, you don't really have that. But again, maybe he just doesn't. Maybe he just didn't speak Jovito, so it's.
It's an entirely different region of the world.
Well, exactly. Yeah, again, he doesn't have to know every language. I'm saying I thought that'd be like a nice little character beat. It's kind of a missed opportunity with the prequel thing. So again, here's where he started to really get invested here. It's like the children were stolen, and kind of I don't know. I tell you another reason I think this movie kind of rubs me the wrong way is, magic's always a tricky thing to get into. It's not just kind of the big mythological stuff that's happening, and like with Raiders or Last Crusade. That's kind of a different animal. This is black magic in particular. I'm not saying it's out of the realm of being able to be pulled off. I'm just saying it's kind of a tricky thing. Like magic kind of has to be a little simpler to sell me on. This is the personal thing. I'm not holding against the movie. I'm just saying I think black magic's a little tricky to pull off.
But the story does very much. I feel like the story in this movie is less about the artifacts and more about just the very personal quest where, for both Indy and Short Round, where they're really invested in getting these kids back.
Yeah, but here
that's why I kind of think this movie it's unique because it's definitely a more personal story for Indy, in my opinion.
But here's the problem with that. You got two problems with that. One problem is Indy, they don't really kind of worry about the kids until they actually see the kids later on. So it's not.
But I mean, what about this right here? A kid is literally dying in his arms. You don't think that's some sort of motivation for him?
Well, I'm saying, don't get me wrong.
Sure it is.
You're right. It gets started here. This is a great bit here. Like, he and Short Round are just like what. Turns out asking like, what are we doing next, boss? Something along those lines. That's good. And again, later on when they see the kids, it just feels like for a long time we kind of get wrapped in so much other stuff. You kind of forget their devotion to doing this. I don't know. That's kind of the way it reads to me.
I don't know. To me, the whole reason why they're going on this trip isn't for the artifact. It is because they know the kids need their help.
I don't think they stress that enough, though.
I mean, I guess.
I kind of have to agree with Dragon because he at first he goes into the temple. He's wanting to steal the rocks, but then he hears the kids back there, and if he hadn't heard the kids, he wouldn't have gone for them.
Yeah.
Am I right or am I right?
That sounds right to me.
I mean, it's coming up pretty soon.
But here's the other thing, just overall with the movie, it kind of gets to me re-examining it today when I rewatched this. The movie, the Raiders and Last Crusade are more than their adventures, their pursuits. They're trying to liberate an item. Here, it's all about survival. Like once they get into the bad situation, it's trying to survive. It feels more survival than an adventure.
Well, to me, I just feel it's a more red-blooded adventure. I feel like it's just a darker adventure because you're right, it is very much about survival. But keep in mind, Dragon, that is very much the format of the serials they were trying to contend with was, going from one bad situation to another. And in some ways, I almost kind of feel like this is the most accurate representation of that serial format that they had in mind. Guys, let's just address the literal elephant in the room. Why is Willie being brought along?
Well, because she doesn't like Indians, Tiki, that's why.
Or I'd like to think it's more that the Indians don't like her and they just want her to get the fuck out of the village. I can't go to Pancot!
God. I'd call my agent. Is there a phone? Is there a phone? You stupid. Oh, God. I want to hit her with a snake.
I do
take one of those high heels and bash her over.
Yes, put her out of her misery. She'll never make the trip.
Okay, but having said that, Indiana Jones on an elephant. Come on, that's pretty cool, right?
Yeah, that is cool.
Yeah. And this is like, you don't want to do this because elephants are going to know if you put like a foreign smelly substance on them. They're going to know that's why you're going to get splashed in wet here. The elephants for a living, well, not for a living. Elephants and they splash their backs and stuff. They clean them, so they're going to know if there's something kind of foreign on them.
Right.
They're like a fancy perfume of some kind. But put it just under your nose, lady. Don't put it on the elephant.
Yeah.
So you smell the perfume and not the elephant. Oh, by the way, these are actually fruit bats. They call them vampire bats. So vampire bats that are a little less likely to come out during the daytime, and they're much smaller. Hence the
that makes sense. Bats. Fruit bats are the same kind of bat that Robin Williams was in Ferngully.
Yeah.
That has kind of like the bigger wingspan and everything.
Yeah. Right here, bad move. Willie, just bad move. By the way, Willie Scott and Short Round are named after dogs, much like Indiana Jones. So Willie Scott is named after Spielberg's dog.
And this is kind of like the low moment of Willie Scott right here.
This to me, oh god, this scenery, this is just wasted screen time to me. Seriously,
It's very funny.
literally the movie just stops here. It's just like, oh, she's complaining for like a solid minute and a half here.
Yeah,
I wish she just lost her voice. I wish, like, after this point, she just stopped talking. Wouldn't that be great?
Yeah.
I mean, literally, it's the adventure quite stopped. And look at Indy, just like, what, just kind of wondering why are we waiting here? Just, I could lose my voice. Yeah, why didn't you lose? It's just the movie just stops here. Let's camp here, and that's not going to solve your problems, Indy. You're just going to have to listen to her more. Leave her to die.
And this is definitely like her at her most obnoxious, where it's like we get some really good character development on Short Round, but in the background, Willie Scott is just screaming her lungs out and just doing all this impractical pratfall shit.
I have a funny story about that, by the way. When I saw this scene out of context once, and I just it's been a gap in time before I'd seen it again. So basically, I saw the clip of Short Round Indy playing cards, which, by the way, that was Short Round's audition.
Nice.
Which, by the way, again, kind of similar to Up. By the way, he and his brother came in. Basically, they went for the brother instead of the one who came in to audition. Same thing happened in Up.
Aw.
Kind of funny. Anyway, my point is, while they're playing cards, you hear this noise in the back, and again, forgetting that Willie Scott's running around doing all this stuff intercuts. There's like a little scene I saw of that audition scene from the documentary. I thought it was like tribal Indian music or something. It's like seriously, when you listen to it, like when they're like right here after she runs, like right here, it sounds like a random kind of tribal screaming going on. Like a wind instrument of some kind, right?
I love how she's just screaming at the monkey, and the monkey's just like, "What the fuck?"
It just sounds like
she really is just being ridiculous right here.
Yeah. People thought Vicky Vale screamed a lot. They did not think of Willie Scott when they said that.
Yeah.
And Short Round, actually, it's I forget if she mentioned it here or not. If it was mentioned here or not, but Short Round actually has an interesting backstory.
He does. He very much does. Yeah.
Short Round, his parents, basically he was kind of wandering the streets because his parents were killed in a bombing, and Indy kind of took him in as he was a pickpocket, and Indy kind of turned his life around. It was a really nice backstory. I completely forgot about that rewatching it today. It's like, oh my god, it's a really good backstory.
And that really does add a lot of dimension to Short Round as a character. I feel like it definitely gives Indy and him a good reason to bond. It gives Short Round even more of a reason to be attached to the kids in the mines. I think that's just an overall really, really good wrinkle in his character.
Yeah, I love the little gag, by the way. I completely forgot. It was really cute. Where he says, his professional name's Indiana, Dr. Jones, not Indiana, and he tips him a coin. It's really adorable. Professional. His professional name, Dr. Jones, to you, lady. Tips him a coin. Really nice. So, by the way, as the scene's going on, the elephant's eating the dress in the background off screen.
Yeah.
And they had to fill out the insurance form, put down eaten by elephant, back of dress eaten by elephant, because it was a really expensive dress. And earlier when she was like reached her stupid low lows moments, that she's supposed to have an actual snake supposed to come by during that scene.
Yeah.
And she was so freaked out by it, she begs, basically Spielberg made her deal, like, look, I'll take the scene out, but you have to do the bugs later on, swear to it. Yet, for some reason, she still, just as a show of good faith, this is a real snake going around her neck right now, which I love Indiana Jones' reaction to that snake. That's hilarious.
Which, again, because it's one of the running things with Indiana Jones movies, he is such an untouchable badass until the inevitable first snake shows up.
Yeah, I mean, that's great, but still, the point is, the fact that she went through all of that, but still she agrees as a show of good faith. Just to show, oh, thank you, Steven. She just does the same exact thing with a snake. She literally grabs an actual snake and throws it. Kind of counterproductive, wouldn't you say?
Right. So this is where we're getting into like the one location setup thing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is honestly something that I find quite fascinating about this movie. The fact that they have this palace as kind of like the whole centerpiece of the rest of the story, where it's going to be, it's going to lay the foundation of the conflict. It's going to be the catacombs of the actual Temple of Doom. It's going to be where we see the finale. It's like we never leave this location for the rest of the movie, and we're only about halfway through the movie, maybe a little less than halfway through the movie. Actually, no, we're like maybe a quarter of the way through the movie right now.
Oh,
Well,
yeah.
you definitely see the haunted castle vibe. Like you're in this location you desperately want to get out of.
Sure, absolutely.
And right here, it just shows you this place is not to be messed with. There's like a little sign here, the bad stuff's coming, and everyone runs away. And then you have like kind of a birds homage here with all the bats going like it's the birds. So bad omen. Don't go, Indy. Just keep on going. Just assume that, make them think that you got killed off along the way. They'll never know. They just ran away.
Is that supposed to be like a carving or like a real human being?
I think it's a carving.
I think it's a carving, yeah.
Looks like a carving.
Not that one there, the other one.
Well, yeah, I've just seen the big statue with the red things on it.
Yeah, the one that looks like the skeleton.
I don't know, it looks pretty.
Oh well.
Stone to me.
The first one that I was talking about.
Well, I'm sorry, I missed it.
That's all right. Never mind.
Point is, it's eerie. That's the thing we can agree on. It's eerie.
It's very ominous. It's very much like, okay, this might look like a nice little palace on the outside, but some dark shit might be going down. Oh, God. Again, why is she even involved in the story at this point?
Well, now she has no place to go. She'll die in the jungle. Well, it's kind of like Romancing the Stone. She'll die without the travel guide with her.
I guess that's the only excuse to have her in the movie, is that literally she's like just helpless and Indy doesn't want her death on his hands, so...
Well, no, he doesn't care. She's just going with him. He can't stop her.
Eh.
Unless he punches her like he punched that one lady unnecessarily in the beginning.
Hey, he was like dazed. Okay.
I know he was dazed, but...
He probably thought she was like some kind of thug after him.
Yeah.
Now this is where Willie should just stay. I mean,
And just not do anything else within the context of the movie, just stay in this...
but then I guess Short Round and Indy would die in the giant spike pit.
Yeah, again,
pretty
it's
much.
like it's kind of the one moment where Willie gets to save the day, and it's... I love the nostalgia critic joke in this movie where he's like, "Oh shoot, we should have just let the spikes kill us. Would have been more dignified than to have her save us."
Well, remember, she uses her brain to save the day in that case.
Right.
Well, actually, no, she uses her brain to almost kill them all again. That's what I mean.
So this is a nice little kind of calm before the storm. I like how it slowly unravels how fucked up this place is. Because it looks nice at first, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I do love Indiana Jones. I love the kind of they play with the idea of Indiana Jones' reputation. It's a good reputation that carries a little cachet. And like, oh yes, you're the famous archaeologist. By all means, come in here.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I like that we're seeing Indy kind of don his archaeology professor look, as we've seen in Raiders of the Lost Ark. I love it when he does that.
Yeah. Indy definitely has some of the most costume changes in this movie from any other movies, I'd say.
Yep, and again, be prepared for another surprise, folks. Willis got to something really horrible coming up.
Now wait, where did he get this suit?
Well, no, it was in the bag Short Round was carrying.
Yeah.
Serious?
Well, I assume it was in the bag. The point is, Short Round's carrying a bag.
And it got all wet and everything.
Well, no, it was a sealed bag.
Well, still,
Might be in
sealed bag.
plastic. I don't know.
Oh, come on. Oh,
That's just Indiana Jones.
That's just one of those things I guess you can't really think about much.
It's Harrison Ford looking classy, alright? Give it a pass.
Look, I'm just maybe he. If you really
I love
want to
Short
look
Round
into
being terrified by the danger.
it- Yeah. Hey, there's the pointless British guy who serves the plot in no way.
Yeah.
Now this, like right here, this Willis guy's just a terrible character in that. I know we're not gonna get. I know there's absolutely no redeeming her, Tiki, but just she's out for money again, and she's like, oh, maybe I'll marry the Maharaja, until she realizes, nope, it's a kid.
Yeah, bad call on her part.
You're lucky to be alive, lady. Count your blessings. Don't try to
Right.
take your little gold dress number you're wearing, sell it when you get back. Don't
Honestly,
steal some silverware. Don't do anything else. You know. Just,
let's set it on eBay. Authentic Indian silverware.
well, I don't think we had eBay back in the 1980s.
So this is
By
a
the
good
way, do you
reveal.
think the Prime Minister is later on? You think he's under mind control? You think he's actually evil?
I think it's kind of meant to be ambiguous, which is one of the things I like about it.
And he kind of fits the mold for kind of our iffy bad guy. Bad guy, he's not entirely villainous. He's not the the unequivocally evil bad guy.
Of course, that'd be a creepy skull hat guy.
Well, yeah, well, that'd be. I think we're again. I don't want to say these villains are completely unforgivable. Just you have to remember this. They have to be familiar with the names, like Ram. It's like something Ram, Mola Ram. So I call
Mola
him
Ram.
He has a ram head. That's why I kind of think the big skull point he has is Ram. But this guy, though, I just call him Prime Minister because, again, you gotta admit, Tiki, the villains in this one they aren't as memorable as the other ones. At the very least, the Raiders ones. Give me the Raiders. Not
the Raiders one, sure, but Molten Ram, I think, is, or however you say his name is. I do think he is very memorable.
The villains are all style over substance, though.
Okay, so this is probably the most culturally offensive thing in the movie, I would say.
I tell you, I used to be a little better with it, T, but now rewatching, I gotta tell you, it really is kind of offensive. I don't
know. I'm wondering what Indy is thinking of this thing.
Oh, God.
What Indy or Indy us think of this thing?
Probably.
I mean, just look down the table, Indy.
Apparently he has the dead food. They all have the living food down there. That's it.
I guess so. Oh, God. Seriously?
Yeah, like this is... It's really unnecessary, don't you think?
Yeah, Dragon, I can't really defend this scene all that much. I mean, I think viscerally it's fairly entertaining just because, I don't know, what can I say? It's dark humor. I like dark humor.
I'll tell you what really... I used to be a little more fond of this scene, but I tell you what really... I completely forgot how it was intercut. It kind of takes away from... We actually have an interesting scene going on here, and then we cut to kind of random gross-out humor.
Yeah. It's probably just to give Willie Scott something to do during the scene, if anything else, but... And then, of course, it's like, Indian food does not work like this, folks. Let's just acknowledge this right now.
Now, let me point out why it's...
Like this.
Let me tell you guys why it's so over the top. Again, with the whole 30s Indian film, George Lucas is kind of going off of in the model for this one. Again, kind of looking back kind of the old films of the 30s. In this case, he's kind of going for kind of a 30s sort of kind of the foreign territory comedy. So it's kind of also like an Abbott Costello kind of Laurel and Hardy vein of like, it doesn't just have to be like a new culture. It's points like even if you're going to high society or something, you're introduced to new customs and like things that are different. That's the premise of this thing. But now they're going over the top of like, okay, so it's gross food.
They could have done that in a more interesting way where there could have just, like, had some interesting cultural dishes that looked a little disgusting from the outset. They didn't just have to go to the resort of, like, hey, Indians just eat bugs as a delicatessen,
Well, it's not just that. Do you remember the big mustachioed guy next to her saying, snake, surprise, that guy? With that guy, again, that's just kind of showing they're kind of going for, like, they're going for a pointed 30s stereotype in a way. And again, it's like it's part of the period. It's what they're going for, but it still doesn't make it work necessarily.
And come on, eyeballs. That's a little closer.
Yeah. There's no culture that would actually cook up eyeballs. That's actually like a civilized culture. Come on now.
I mean, yeah, you see what they're going for. It's not clicking,
Yeah, Dragon, I will admit, like, I love all the stuff in the temple. I love how dark it gets when Indy is under the voodoo curse. That stuff I will defend. This stuff I think is a little bit culturally insensitive.
Right here, I want to mention this again with the kind of the reputation Indiana Jones has gained for himself. I love there's also a negative side of that, as he's pointing out. It says, oh yeah, they threatened to cut off your head. Not my head. Your hands? No, not my hands. My looks down, my misfortune, my misunderstanding. So yeah, I like the idea. He also has kind of an infamous reputation as well as like he gets in hot water a lot as an archaeologist as well.
Of course.
And we have kind of like a Hannibal Lecter special here for dessert.
Oh God! Oh dear!
Coming up, not yet, but
Yeah, I almost forgot about that until I rewatched this afternoon.
So apparently the Maharaja had a little bit more to do. I mean, they kind of sidelined in the movie. They kind of put him under mind control. later on. But again, they initially wanted to do more. I kind of wish they went that route, though, because again, seeing the kind of make the Maharaja like one of the supporting characters. Perhaps,
I
that could have
think
been
he
cool.
does have a good presence when he is in the film. I agree they could have done more with him. They could have had a more interesting story arc with him.
I'm not saying he could be solid, because who could? But I'm saying he could have been like at least a helpful character.
Or, or a more nefarious character,
Yeah,
go all the way with...
right now, all he's got going
stuff.
for him is he's creepy voodoo kid that you want to punch in the face, because he's hurt beginning. Now you remember, oh my God, he's that innocent little Maharaja kid. I don't want to punch him in the face.
So what do we think of the monkey brains?
No class.
Out of all the gross foods, I mean, it's it's kind of like a dessert.
I think it looks the most fake because all the monkey heads look the exact same, and the brains are like bright red.
Yeah, the brains and the bugs are custard.
So Indy's going to go check on his Willy right here.
Oh, would you stop?
No, I will never stop.
I mean, how'd they settle on that name, Willy? I mean,
well, I told you, it's Spielberg's dog.
Oh.
Because Spielberg's dog's name is Willy, and George Lucas' dog is Indiana. Spielberg's is Willy, and one of the writer's dogs was Short Round.
Oh my God.
And in Indy 4, they call the character. I don't know if that was the name of someone's dog, so they're poking fun at the own naming gag. So let me just say this: with the sequence coming up, had we liked Willy at this point, I think the sequence would have worked. The idea that while he's fighting this henchman coming up, it's intercut with like her waiting on him and just thinking, getting him ready. Like, oh no, that Indiana Jones, he'll wish he was here tonight. It's a really well intercut sequence, but again, only if we'd like Willie Scott more, it would have worked.
Yeah, and since we don't like Willie Scott, it's almost kind of like, shut up.
It makes me sad because, again, that would have worked, though, because that's a really well-cut sequence.
If this is Marion and Indy, then yeah, it absolutely works tenfold.
Yeah, like just anyone other than Willie Scott.
And that's kind of one of the things I was discussing with Jacob, was we both agree that, there's... I don't know, to me, one of the things that makes Willie Scott a little bit more tolerable is Indy's reactions to her throughout a lot of the movie. But in scenes like this, where he's just kind of like blindly falling for her.
Yeah, I do like Indiana Jones as the ladies' man here. Again, had we liked her more, it would have been more effective. But
that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. I just think it would have been a fun dynamic if Indy just never fell for her. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, but again, it's kind of neat seeing kind of as the smooth operator as an archaeologist. Again, chicks dig archaeologist. Bringing that one back. But again, this really is a kind of a cleverly edited. I believe, Michael Kahn did the editing on this one. Again, it's a really nicely intercut sequence with it's a really cool fight scene. And this is the sequence where Harrison Ford injured his back, by the way.
Right.
So first of all, I also want to mention that coming up, you're going to see those paintings in the background. I love that our assassin appears and he's blended into the background, which is awesome.
Okay, I will admit that John Williams goes a little bit overly whimsical with this with this love theme right here.
Yeah.
Just play it, Williams. Come on, play it up. It's so fucking whimsical, isn't it?
And again, had we liked her more, this sequence would have been great.
I don't know. To me, I got to admit, the music is kind of like one of the rare Williams stumbling blocks.
Well, I mean, look, everyone deserves kind of like a fumble. Everyone deserves a foul ball now and again.
Sure.
Can't all be strike. I
don't really mind it. I just think it's a little over the top.
Yeah. Well, still, to be fair, I mean, I like it when it kind of goes a little dark in the score at times when the scene befitting of it.
Yeah.
Conceited ape. Again, it's kind of like the anti kind of Han and Leia, what they're going for in this movie, kind of the anti Han and Leia connection.
Yeah, it is, but with the anti-Han and Leia connection, doesn't that just mean it's two people who don't like each other that just kind of, like, hook up inexplicably?
I think so.
Alright.
I know, I think this was... Oh, yeah, anyway, look, Tiki, right here. When Harrison Ford throws this guy over his back, that's when he herniated his back.
Oh,
man.
So yeah, that's when he herniated his back, and what happened was, and apparently I hear it was controversial. I don't know if they were playing that up, but I guess it was a radical surgery at the time. So basically, he was in tremendous pain. You had to be on a bed on set. He could barely get in and out of a bed. He had to go in for this papaya enzyme back surgery, which was a big radical thing at the time. It still seems to have been beneficial. Like no relapses or anything. Aside from his other various injuries, but. Anyway, so he had papaya enzyme back surgery after what happened to his back there, and they shot for weeks he was out while he was recuperating, and they had to shoot it with a double, and then they kind of edited in his reactions, like him popping up after that.
Right.
So that's why in the third act when he's fighting off the guys after he snaps out of hypnosis, well, and of the mind control, that's why he's fighting. I do like this. This is a dark bit I do like. When the guy kind of uses the whip to hang the guy.
Yeah, again, that's just a very, I think this movie kind of pushes the bar for a lot of things, including how Indy uses the whip in more creative ways.
I'm saying that does it is very consistent with some stuff we've seen in Raiders, him using things creatively in there. Again, this seemed to be funny if we cared, but I don't care.
I know. I'm right there with you, man.
As am I.
Yeah. She's so bad.
Yeah,
so bad.
And it sucks just because we just had Marion, who was so awesome.
Yeah.
Like Marion's great. I'm gonna say is I think the girl in The Last Crusade. I think she's probably the most attractive out of the indie girls.
That doesn't really mean much to me in terms of like if she doesn't have a personality.
I think she's also good. I'm saying she doesn't compare to Marion Craig. I'm just saying it's a thing she brings to it. I think she's like the most kind of a Bond girl. We're going with the indie girls. I think she's the most kind of. She has an attractive. I'm just saying she
which
looks
is very appropriate considering the whole Bond angle of that movie in particular.
That's what I'm saying. I'm just not saying. I'm saying Marion still tops the female characters. I'm just saying it's kind of.
Hey
something
guys,
she
do
brings
you get it? It's a booby trap because they have to push the breast to get in. You get it?
Oh, I got it. Yep, she's not. That's not the only.
I really love how this movie just kind of slowly devolves into madness, because like up until this point, it's just kind of been like this, the kind of feeling of being in the strange culture and the food and everything. But there's a little bit of menace under the surface, but not much. And then suddenly, right here, we have this great shot of Indy entering the temple, which is kind of replicated on the poster for this movie a little bit. The movie really does kind of kick into high gear where we get this whole kind of like underground labyrinth that's behind the palace, and I love that angle to it. I love that this palace is just, there's so many multi-layers of this one location that you can set a whole giant grand Indiana Jones adventure around, and really the whole back half of this movie is just wall-to-wall action within this temple.
This bit bugs me in short round. I mean, I do have a few gripes with short round, very minor gripes, and that's one of them right there where he just kind of like, he just doesn't listen to Indiana Jones, just stay behind me, don't touch anything. He
just literally tells him don't touch anything, short round proceeds to touch something.
I'm saying when short round does stuff like that, it bugs me. Otherwise, I think he's really solid, because I love him as kind of the really competent sidekick to Indiana Jones, the kind of Indiana Jones.
And speaking of a sidekick that's not so competent,
jeez,
just touch the breasts. Just touch the fucking breasts. Don't be shy.
Why do we need to cut that? Such a random, stupid cut. If the real boob on screen is not the actual boobs in question, but it's the actual boob who is trying to feel up the stone statue. God. There's already one opening. Do you think there are two? Christ.
Oh boy.
I gotta wonder if they have bug insurance on this movie, because Men in Black, that was made years after this, but Men in Black actually had, they insure the bugs. So I gotta wonder, because they bring in bug guys and tons of bugs. So you would assume there'd be accidents, because this is like there are bugs all crawling all over the place, right?
Yeah.
You would assume that'd be impossible to insure.
I mean, this scene is very effective because it definitely creeps me out. It definitely kind of gives me that creepy, crawly feeling.
I'm not a bug guy. I mean, thankfully none of them flew. If they flew, I would not have walked in that place. I can't stand flying bugs.
And here we go with probably one of the more iconic Indiana Jones death traps, outside of the rolling boulder, of course.
Yeah, and this I do really like. I think I might like this a lot because of the stunt show, perhaps. But it's really a fan of the '60s Batman. They also had like various kind of like spike rooms closing.
Of course.
So I think I've always developed a fondness for it because of that. So, I mean, this whole, again, out of the 6, I know I keep calling back to this. I'm saying the 6 moments are the 3 moments that were that are left out from Raiders that are in this film, and then there's the opening number, spike room, and the bridge. So those are my 6 moments, and this is definitely one really fun sequence.
And this moment's emulated really well in the cue to Indiana Jones Adventure at Disneyland, where you go through this long hallway, and you can see there's spikes on the ceiling, and there's this bamboo pole, and if you touch the bamboo pole or shake the bamboo pole, then the spikes will start to fall.
Yeah. However, I mean, again, as much as I more so love the concept of the spike room. I like kind of that as a death trap and Indian showdown trap, and Willie still bugs the crap out of me in this scene. I know we're beating a dead horse with that. I'm just saying, still though.
It's a shame that Willie has to be the one to come to the rescue in this scene.
It's not so much he comes to the rescue; it's more so she has to be so incompetent in doing so. Like it's. She broke a nail again. She literally says she broke a nail in this scene again.
Yeah, because that joke wasn't just hilarious the first time.
Yeah. She's screaming at the dead bodies and everything left and right. And it is pretty hysterical. It's over the top, but it's hysterical when Harrison Ford is going through the little window saying, "We are going to die."
That's one of my favorite parts of the whole movie.
It's over the top, but it's hilarious. I love the face. After he says the line, just kind of the face deflates a little bit. Just, "We are going to die." Just his like brow comes down, looks hysterical. Just wait for it. Just watch for it.
I am like seriously. Some of this stuff would be kind of like difficult to shoot if you have a fear of bugs.
Well, yeah, she had to take I don't know if it was a Xanax per se. She had to take some sort of thing to calm her down, so she wouldn't have a panic attack. She wouldn't like completely shut down and freak out.
I feel for her, man.
Yeah, and again, Spielberg was really nice with her on set. Though he held her hand, he walked her again there, kind of hitting it off really nicely. And yeah, but again, it kind of drives me. I wonder if the insurance thing for the bugs was in place. I don't think it had. I don't think you can shoot it if you had insurance, because it'd be impossible to walk around these.
Okay,
things.
here we go.
Because Men in Black, you couldn't step on the cockroaches. I mean, if you can't do that, I don't imagine you step on any of these guys if they had that in place in the '80s.
Right.
Yeah, here we get. Oh, yeah, those things are creepy. I really hope those. For her, I hope they are scorpions, but I just hope for the sake of Indiana Jones, they are not. I do love it when the spike kind of goes on the brow of the hat, so it's coming down like it's hair or something.
Right.
Ugh.
We are going to die!
Look right there, right? Just when the face deflates right there, just like the whole. I mean it. It's hysterical.
Oh.
See right there, the brow's coming, like the brim's coming down on the hat. And coming up, she puts them all in danger with her brains.
Yep.
See, Short Round, he was told to lean against that wall, so it's not Short Round's fault. It is absolutely her fault, though. Look how pissed off Indy looks at her, though. He heard all
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. If we got more of that dynamic where Indy is just straight up like he just does not like being around this woman.
Literally, she bends over and she starts the whole thing up again. She's clumsy. She's such a liability. Marion.
Okay, and here we're gonna get the iconic hat shot right there.
Here we go.
Yeah.
I mean, that's another thing with this movie. Again, it has a lot of iconic bits like that.
Common misconception is that hat bit happened with Raiders, but no, Raiders he goes back for the whip, not the hat.
I would just honestly, I would leave the hat. My arm is about to get crushed, and I'm in the middle of nowhere.
Well, we see in Last Crusade, it's a very special hat to him, though.
Oh, I know, but I mean, if I would leave the hat, if my arm was about to get crushed under a giant stone.
He had some leeway. He had time. He knows what he's doing.
Oh, I guess you're right.
Like a split second. It's just he's just darting for a hat. He's not darting for getting in the middle of the room or anything.
Now this is like where things go downhill. Like,
yeah.
You guys got to admit this is an awesome set.
Oh yeah, it's a fantastic Tiki. It's an awesome set. I mean, it's unbelievable. This is like kind of built like a built set. This is like looks like it's on location in a volcano or something.
That's what I'm saying.
It looks impressive. I hear they kind of mixed a bit of kind of the Hinduism and basically kind of a Hawaiian volcano sacrifice is what they're going for. That's what I've heard.
Not surprised. I could see that.
Kind of mixing some things. Basically, they want the lava, and they don't need the lava, honestly. But yeah, they make the lava look spectacular, though.
I think the lava, it adds to the ambiance of the scene, and also just adds to the stakes of the scene as well.
I think mainly just because it adds the nice red glow. I mean, the red glow
exactly, the red glow, that's what I'm saying, yeah.
This is why I kind of can call this guy Ram. I can remember that now, because he has kind of a ram head with a bone skull here.
And I really do think this guy, I mean, he might not be as complex as some of the villains in Raiders were, but he's got a presence to him, and that's what I love about him.
Yeah, he does have a presence, I'll give you that. But again, these guys all style over substance, and that's not necessarily a horrible thing. I'm saying it's just, he doesn't make him as interesting as Belloc or as threatening as Tote, but he is.
I don't think he has to be as interesting as Belloc. I think he's more intimidating than Belloc.
Yeah, you're right. He is intimidating, though.
Oh, this poor guy.
Oh, this guy. Okay, folks, here we go. If you guys want to just pinpoint the moment where the PG-13 rating had to come into place, I'd say it's right here.
It does bug me. I was rewatching this does bug me. Why doesn't he just try to shoot the guy to save this one guy's life?
Who, Indy?
Why doesn't Indy just shoot Ram to save the guy's life? He's try.
I don't know.
Well, he lost his gun.
When did he lose it? Oh, that. Oh, you mean he didn't bring an extra? Oh, right. You're right. You're absolutely.
That was like his gun from like Raiders and everything.
Well, technically no, because he gets a new gun because it's not a sequel. But, yeah. The point is, I think you're right, and then he forgets he doesn't have the gun because of Willie Scott's the reason this guy dies. Then.
Pretty much.
Willie killed this guy. You killed this innocent guy, Willie. I know he's ripping the heart out, but you.
Oh God!
Willie,
seriously though, seriously, this is awesome. This is amazing right here.
It's
so cool. It is so cool to me. The lighting, the music, the gothic nature of it. I fucking love it.
What do you think, Sandy?
This is one of the things that just puts me over the edge as far as this how dark the film goes. I mean, if it weren't for this drinking the blood out of a severed head or pulling out a man's heart and then burning him alive in a giant pit of lava,
and yet he's alive because of black magic.
Yeah, if it didn't have that, I would have been fine with this film.
No, I'm totally in the opposite direction with you. We needed something like this in the Indiana Jones franchise.
I mean, look, the heart thing's iconic, and I respect its place and kind of in history with that because it is a really dark, interesting idea. But again, just when you mix it in with Indiana Jones, it's. But again,
well, I think it's interesting that Indy kind of had to tackle like a true, just sadistic cult leader. That's not something that he had to tackle in Raiders. In Raiders, the villains were much more intellectual. He had kind of much more like intellectual foes in Raiders. With this guy, it's all just spirituality and just kind of influence and power with this guy.
Right.
And come on, when the heart light's on fire, come on, that's fucking amazing. I could watch that shit all day.
But that's really dark. It's cool, but it's really dark.
I could watch it all day. I fucking love it.
A heart catching on fire?
Yes.
Come on, Tiki, how dark are you?
Pretty dark, Sandy. Pretty dark.
Now, if Willie was as skilled as Marion Crane, she could actually just go back and wait in the room and just fight off anyone coming by. But no, she is completely helpless, so she has to be with Indy and getting in more danger.
And this is where Indy says, "Well, Willie, this is where you come in." Throws her in the pit.
And I have no idea how Willie Scott's not dead because he doesn't rip her heart out. I don't get it. No idea why he doesn't rip her heart. He puts her in the volcano sacrifice. Why don't you an extra heart?
Well, maybe it's different because she's a female or something.
Well, that's why they don't brainwash her because they don't want females in the thing. But still, you can still use a good heart.
Well, notice how they dress her up, and then so maybe there's more to it than just maybe. They don't want. Yeah, maybe.
Let's see how it plays out. Oh, I do like kind of the skull image here of even putting the stones in there.
Yeah. I will admit, out of the relics that we've gotten in the indie movies, these are probably the weakest.
You know, thinking about the relics, I don't know what it is. It's kind of hard to pin down, but just comparing with the other relics, it was more about the adventure and getting to the relics. These relics seem to be more. I mean, I know the plot's more about you. We get into the whole Kali thing. I get that, but still, it feels like these relics. Tell me if I'm crazy or Tiki. If these relics still are a little bit too focused on when they shouldn't be. Because, like I was saying, in the village, we're blaming all of the villages going to heck because these magical objects are gone.
I don't know, to me, they just don't have the same kind of, iconic stature in actual history that the Ark of the Covenant or the Holy Grail does, or even Crystal Skulls, for that matter, because Crystal Skulls are a real thing.
Yeah. So, do you guys have a I'm sorry, T. Go on.
Well, I'm just saying, so just because of that reason, it's just a little bit harder for the audience to latch on to this concept. And you're right, Dragon, I do think there's a little bit too much exposition, whereas with the other movies, we already kind of have a built-in knowledge of at least, the Ten Commandments or the Holy Grail, so it doesn't require as much of a focus in the actual plot. Yeah. Having said that, I do think that the whole point of this movie is rescuing the kids. The actual jewels, basically, are just kind of the MacGuffin to make that happen.
And again, I'm telling you, there's not enough focus on saving the kids in this movie, though.
Yeah, but we're about to get some focus on it right here.
It's a setup and it's a payoff. We get no... well, again, we discovered him. It's a good moment. I love when Indy gets so pissed off he throws a rock at the guy to try to save the kids. That's a great moment, though, when that happens.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. This is what I'm talking about here. Or this is what I was talking about earlier, I should say. And he's after the rocks. He's not after the kids at first.
He doesn't know the kids are there yet.
Well, yeah, that's how I could defend it, is that he doesn't know the kids are there.
Well, he knows that they took the kids.
Yeah, but he doesn't know where the kids are. He doesn't know.
For all he knows, they killed the kids. For all he knows, because you just saw him kill those guys.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, I guess I never thought about that. All right.
And again, I absolutely love the set. I love the giant statue. It's all super creepy. It's I like the occult angle. I think it's totally unique from anything that we've seen in Raiders, and that's kind of why I dig this whole element of the film so much. I completely understand why it doesn't jive with you guys, because you're right. Compared to Raiders, it doesn't really have that same kind of Indiana Jones whimsical magic thing going on. But I just think that is just a unique piece of filmmaking in its own right. This is some really, really interesting things that Spielberg was trying to explore with this movie here.
Let me ask you this. What do you think of Indy's skepticism in all the movies? Because it kind of is a reset button. Where Indiana Jones, he's a little skeptical that the Ark of the Covenant actually has magical powers. It's more about the archaeological find. Holy Grail, he's skeptical. That's a big plot point of that. Now, this, prequel or no, the point is he will be reset in that mindset. But the point is, he learns firsthand that black magic does exist. I mean, what do you think? What's wrong with Indy there? He doesn't just kind of latch on. Okay, there are all these.
I honestly think that's really an inherent flaw of the franchise in general. I don't think you can pin that on this one movie.
Yeah, because another issue I was thinking about, but then that kind of dawned on me. I was kind of laid out there. This item out of all of them feels like the most inherently magical. All of a sudden, it's like a myth built around the iconic item, and this is like something where directly, okay, well, the village then actually magically heals itself. And then we see him with the black magic.
Oh god, that jump scare always got me as a kid right there.
Yeah, and then we see with all the other, all the Kali Ma stuff, well, there are actually some, because that guy's alive after his heart was ripped out, so there is black magic apparently works.
Right.
You think that Indy wasn't mind controlled by this stuff, so why in the heck would he not, why would he be skeptical going forward? A little inconsistent with that in the franchise.
Yeah, I can understand that. But like I said, I think that's more of a franchise thing and less kind of on the shoulders of this one film.
Yeah, but part of me still thinks it might be a mistake to be so direct with the magic in this, because I like it being like the reveal that the magical thing actually is magical. If you're operating the logic that things are going to reset themselves, just going to put that wayside on. This guy though is one of the best villains. Personally, he's my favorite villain in this whole thing. The whip guy, the overseer of the.
This guy is basically kind of like the equivalent to the mustachioed Russian muscle man.
Yeah, well, Nazi Russian man, but the Nazi guy, I don't think he's Russian.
Sure.
Well, I mean, you're right, Tiki. He is. I'm saying, of all the villains who are kind of style over substance, he's my favorite because I can just see the toyetic written on this guy's face. Of, oh my god, it looks so awesome, doesn't he? He looks kind of like it's like almost like a Razul from Aladdin sort of look. You know, he's got the big, basically like Razul and Jafar colors.
Mm-hmm.
It looks really cool. You know, this big guy with a whip, really bad at it. Beefy guy that Indiana Jones will fight. You're right, though. He's very much like the plain guy, but he's even more cool in his design, though.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And plus, he's really cruel to kids, so you want Indy to give this guy a wallop, you know, you want to... Yeah. Yeah, but
I think Indy and Short Round have such a cool, like, really sweet, genuine dynamic going on between them through this movie.
Absolutely.
And I think, obviously, it's so much better than Mutt Williams, where Mutt Williams, it's like they actually tried to do the father-son thing, and it didn't work. This was more just kind of like Short Round being a little bit too gung-ho for his age, and Indy kind of balancing him out in a way.
Yeah.
The only thing I have to say is that town had a buttload of kids.
Yeah, it did.
Yes, it did.
Okay, I like the emotional effectiveness of the scene. I will admit it maybe is a little much, just, to have, like, the kid kind of like, oh, I prayed for death and death never came. I'm like, yeah, okay, that might be pushing it a little.
And here's the thing, T. I think mind control absolutely was the wrong way to... Mind control is too much in this movie. That's too big a mystical idea, I think. I think it's... I know you like it, T, right? You like the mind control thing, right?
I think it's silly, but I think it's fun.
I think it's going too far, because again, that's firsthand, it's absolute undeniable proof that magic exists. I know we're still operating under the idea it just resets itself, but still, that's
And I also like the idea how the mind control comes back within the finale, where Indy gets all pissed about the other god, like, you betrayed...
Shiva.
Shiva, right. And I think that is almost kind of like a leftover residue of the mind control, which I think is an interesting idea to play with. But,
it's too out there, it's too, like, mind control's like, whenever you do that in just anything, period, even like with superhero stuff all the time, when someone gets mind controlled, there's like an aftermath, there's like, there are many stories that can come out of that. I'm not saying they have to do that here. My point is, mind control's a tricky thing in general to pull off, and it's even more tricky when you do it via magic.
Sure.
And more so, kind of poorly explained, he drinks blood, and he says some magic words, he turns evil. And again,
but how about that Harrison Ford acting, though? You got to give Harrison Ford some credit. I think he pulls it off, though. I really love the way he portrays it.
Of course, he's intimidating. I love the whole.
He's intimidating. I love the look on his face when he's slowly snapping out of it. Overall, I think his performance in it is really.
This
really
blood
good.
does not need to be in a human head. That's overkill. Come on.
Yeah.
Put it in a chalice or something, a little wine glass or something, a big old wine glass.
The blood is literally like being drained out of this head. Like the blood is the blood from the head.
Look at it though. No. There was a little thing holding the blood underneath, and they disperse it through the head as a little ceremony thing. They do not need that head.
Well, see, you know what? It looks fucked up and dark, and that's kind of what they were going for. So, at this point, I'm just going to kind of hold the director auteur theory.
And look at this here. I mean, the Indiana Jones voodoo thing just comes out of nowhere. There's no setup.
But it's creepy.
And again, like the Maharaja, did you initially recognize this kid as the Maharaja? Because I assumed he was the Maharaja, and I was thinking, no, I'm thinking they don't explain what happened to this guy at all. It's like we just assume, okay, well, the Maharaja has been given the blood too, and that's why he's acting like this.
That's kind of what I took it as, yeah, and I don't really have a problem with that.
Yeah. Like we forget all about kind of what the Prime Minister's role is with the kid. Like we don't know if he's a bad guy. I mean, they're kind of forgetting these details, because again, the Mirage was kind of made a big deal of earlier on.
Yeah, you're right.
Like all of this is going on in the Maharaja's palace. You wonder how he feels about it. We get that one line saying, "Well, I'm sure it's not going on now." And then, okay, well, now he's roped into it again. I think this thing a lot is going too far in the black magic territory. Like, I'll give him the heart thing. Look, I'll bite the bullet. I'll give him the heart. I'll give him that as far as the darkness and just kind of the black magic goes.
And this speaking of darkness, like Indy and Short Round getting whipped. I mean, that is something that's pretty hardcore dark, but. Like I said, I respect the filmmakers for having the balls to go that dark to begin with.
Come on, you can see. Oh, you can see the tongue in the skull. It's like
That's creepy.
the nozzle for like the blood
Yeah.
coming.
That's what I'm saying. That's over. I'd say a lot of this darkness is overkill, though.
But you've got to admit it gives the film a unique style, and it makes the film memorable. Even if you don't personally like it, you've got to admit it makes it memorable.
It makes it memorable, yes, because it's so traumatizing.
I don't want to remember Indiana Jones with skulls pouring blood into someone's mouth.
Like, do you really want to remember Indiana Jones as the bad guy who hit kids and was about to, while she was annoying, still try to emulate an annoying woman?
No, but I want to remember the Indiana Jones as a hero that came out of that and liberated the entire colony of slave
Well, he didn't
children.
even come out of it. He was burned out of it. He didn't do that. Short Round did.
Yeah, but still, he was able to get his act together.
That wasn't him, though. Anyone. Mary did that to Maharaja, too. He just burned people to get him out of it. It's not their choice. They're not fighting it.
Need I remind you he liberated a whole colony of slave children? Need I remind you of that?
That's
cool. Our hero
That's
we're
not
dealing
coming
with.
out of mind control. And
this shot here is
actually, he didn't do that. It was mostly he was fighting a guard while Short Round and Capsule saved all.
How much fun is Harrison Ford having right here? I mean, come on, just give it up for him.
I mean, I'm going to tell you this. I think everyone's given their A game. Willie's Kate Capshaw has nothing to work with, but she's given her A game. She's playing. She's
I don't
committing.
think Kate Capshaw has an A game.
I think she's committing to doing bad performance. I think she's committing. She's throwing herself into it. She's committing to. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it as bad as I can. But you know, you can tell Harrison Ford he had to get in shape for this movie, and again, he literally kind of broke his back making this movie in a way.
Right.
So, I mean, I can't take that away from him. I just tell you, I think the heart was not. I know I kept using the heart analogy because the heart's just so present in this film, but the heart is just not in it for the writing. And I think, honestly, George Lucas' heart wasn't in it because I know it during meetings he was.
Well, I think with Short Round they got it right. I think there's a lot of heart between Indy and Short Round. There's a lot of good moments there. I think absolutely Willie Scott, they totally missed the mark on her, and none of us are denying that, Dragon. So. But I think there's enough heart in this movie while still kind of subverting your expectations and going in a darker direction with it. I mean, who would ever think that we'd see Indy in a situation like this after Raiders of the Lost Ark? It's unexpected. That's why I like it.
Yeah, I know. I gotta tell you, it's the way that, for me, it's the way the film works. It feels more like Indiana Jones to me once we get kind of past this mind control thing, which kind of gets wrapped up again, like within 10 minutes. Seems like a little pointless 10-minute tangent.
So are you saying the film would just work a lot better if they just didn't go into this mind control subplot?
Well, the more I think about it, Tiki, I'm kind of seeing. Well, then we get kind of back into the swing of things with the minecart chase right after. Then he liberates the kids, gets the minecart chase. That's the Indiana Jones movie. Like he fights these guys, and maybe he gets imprisoned along with Short Round and everyone.
But like I said, the mind control does kind of come back into the Shiva thing at the end.
I mean, the Shiva thing's cool, Tiki, but again, why? Shiva thing's cool. I mean, that's kind of a weird way of getting to it. It doesn't even explain why he really knows Shiva. Just as he's mind controlled.
Well, no, I take it that because he was mind controlled, that's what gave him the insight into Shiva and the whole you betrayed Shiva thing.
Look at this though. They do kind of have a build. I don't know if it's necessarily that too. Because earlier on, like he's looking at the little map thing. He's got like the whole Shivas. He's telling Willie Scott what Shiva is and everything. So that would be kind of giving him some respect for Shiva already, without having to kind of mind control him.
Fair enough.
I'm saying he could just develop more respect for as they go on. So maybe he's learn something from the guy, and he just says, "Well, no, you actually betrayed Shiva, and his your penance."
Dragon, I will say that I have a lot of fun with the mind-controlled Indy. I'll agree that I don't necessarily think it's necessary. Like, out of all the dark stuff that does happen in this movie, yeah, sure, you can cut it. It really wouldn't make that much of a difference to the movie. I think the main purpose is to kind of see it like, oh my god, our hero is... like, this is an even darker situation we could possibly found ourselves in because now our hero is kind of, the tables have turned now,
And the only thing you get out of this, Tiki, is Short Round saving Indy in the HUD in the moment. Like, it is a shocking moment. Indy hits Short Round, but then Short Round saves him by burning him. That's the only, it's Short Round's shining moment. That's the only
Absolutely, and the whole,
light.
like, I love you, Dr. Jones, you know? Like, it's so touching at the end of it.
And this is all wasted right here with Willie Scott because we don't care about it. He's more.
We don't give a shit about Willie Scott. Are you guys, like, with me that we're just actively rooting for Willie Scott to die in this sequence?
Again, I don't
Just actively rooting for it.
Why is she alive? There is no reason she should be alive right now.
That's what I'm saying. It's like, every time I watch this movie, there's, like, that fucked up little part of me that's like, oh man, I hope she gets burned. You know, it's like, I mean, come on, like, I'm sure the particles on her perfume are flammable. You know, I'm sure her perfume would have, like, fucking flamed up.
You know what? I'm getting a sense the dumb reason is why they didn't sacrifice her. This is the dumb reason why they didn't get her heart out.
What?
Because she's a woman. Not just because she's a woman. I mean, because, you know, a woman, you know, it's kind of, you have to reach through something to get the heart.
Yeah, I could see that.
I think that's the dumb reason. They pushing the censors, not pushing it that far though, because that might give them an R rating.
Well, can you really blame them though? I mean, I wouldn't really want to see that happen to Willie. I just want to see Willie fall in the fire, but.
That's what I'm saying. That's why they didn't do it though. You know, that's why they didn't even like tease it. They didn't tease like her, because even if they attempted it, they'd have to be around that region.
But you've got to admit, from this point on, the film is basically just like action, 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 just great, just white knuckle thrill ride stuff.
This little piece here kind of reminds me of Goonies. This
which is ironic because this actor is going to be in Goonies.
Yeah, exactly.
I will say this: in the setting, though, some of the action, while it is good, I'm saying it does maybe drag on like a hair than it should. I'm saying the setting kind of blends it into each other a little bit. It kind of gets a smidge repetitive until we get to the big iconic set pieces, like the minecart chase or like specific gags. But I'm saying along the way, it's kind of blends together a little bit. I love I love how Short Round is kind of, he's acting as Indiana Jones in these scenes. He's kind of saving the day here. I do like that. Again, Short Round being mentored by Indiana Jones.
That was really good setup with Short Round getting the hat earlier in the movie, I'd say.
Absolutely. Oh yeah, like weird cheerleaders on the side here. Again, the cult stuff and the black magic, a little weird.
But wouldn't it be so satisfying if Willie just burned right there?
Honestly, yeah, it would. Like, it would have gone in a whole different direction. It might have been an interesting direction. Okay, Indy. Point is, like, someone Indy kind of unintentionally involved in this journey. In fact, he didn't turn her away when he should have.
Right.
In the process, that could have been an idea they might have been able to play with. They want to go. That's a dark direction to go in. That's not overkill. It's like, okay, well, Indy, like, again, think about it. It feeds into the idea earlier on of his friend Wu got killed in the line of duty.
No, you're right. It does kind of pick up with that, sure.
I wish it was just here's the thing, if they go thematically dark with, like, the themes and the ideas, that's dark in a really good way. If they're going darker, like, let's drink from a bloody skull, man.
But I like all that stuff.
Let's burn hearts.
It's like Halloween. This is like the Halloween Indiana Jones movie.
There's a difference between showing danger and being gory. Like, showing danger, like people get eaten by crocodiles, that's awesome.
I don't necessarily think any of this stuff is really all that gory.
Well, you're removing a heart from the chest. That's kind of much.
Well, yeah, but I'm saying just, like, they don't actually see the heart getting, like, you know, the way they shoot it, it's like, you know, yeah, it implies that it happens, but...
No, you see him pull the heart out, and the heart's beating in his hand, and it catches on fire. And there's blood, and there's parts of like the thing holding the heart, like ventricles around it. It's pretty exposed.
All right.
That's an X-rated heart. What do you think about?
I mean, even if Willie didn't burn, I'm sure she'd get heat stroke.
Yeah.
Well, I hope she gets a really nasty. So this is, I want to point out that little escape hatch for Ram. Awfully like specific. You know, you really have to lay down. You have to be in the exact position of someone.
Exactly.
And you're gonna slide down somewhere, slide out for an exit, and you can't wear your hat because if you wear your hat, you're not gonna fit. Awfully specific.
Maybe there's multiple, and he just chose the one that was closest to him. I don't know.
The fact I had the forethought to put that in there too, it raises. I gotta wonder if this guy's under mind control or not. Does Indy
I
kill
think
this
a
guy?
lot of the mind control in this movie is supposed to be ambiguous, which I kind of appreciate.
Okay, does he kill this guy or not?
Because it kind of
Yeah.
makes you think like who from the henchmen can you really trust? Who's just being under mind control? Who's really nefarious? It kind of puts an interesting level on the movie, an interesting kind of twist on like the villains.
Does that Prime Minister look dead to you?
I don't think he's dead. I think his ribs are probably broken.
Okay, that's fair.
A couple.
Because I'm saying that it raises a big question, like if the guy gets killed, then Indy kind of killed the guy who was under mind control. It's not his fault. But again, it's ambiguous. But he didn't kill him, so I guess it's a good middle ground.
Yeah.
That metal has got to be really hot. How is he just grabbing it?
A very good point.
I mean, we already saw how hot a gun could be after firing it with this.
Well, remember, that cage is lowered into the lava, and it's pulled back out over,
right.
and we saw it used just a little while before.
Exactly.
Oh yeah, sure, slap him. Right. That's your move. This guy saved you. It was how awake she is during the plot. I do kind of like Indy with kind of the lip scars on his back, though. It's kind of cool.
Yeah. Kind of like almost Die Hard-esque.
Okay. I'm thinking more like Batman, because there's this famous Alex Ross thing where Batman is like he's putting on the batsuit and you have like the scars on his back all over the place. Looks really good.
Right.
Man, Alex Ross is such a good artist. That guy can paint anything. Oh, this is sweet again.
This is probably the most genuine moment with Short Round.
And this Willis Scott's in the background is wasting.
Yeah, just literally just wasting screen space, just wasting screen real.
Well, at least she's not screaming this time.
I do love this though, Tiki. I do love this. I love it when Indy he puts the hat back on and he just kind of appears here, kind of like Batman, right? He just kind of appears and just punches the guys to save kids. That's awesome.
Yes, absolutely,
right there.
Absolutely.
See, that's getting right from this point forward. Tiki, now we're getting back into kind of the Raiders Indiana Jones feel. Basically, this to the end of the movie, I would say feels pretty much. This is like the Indiana Jones I was hoping. I think it's the direction they really should have gone.
And I don't know, to me, I don't mind the little detour with Kali Ma because I just think it gives the film its own unique identity, and I think the film took a lot of risks with going into those dark directions. Did the risks pay off? Maybe not, because this is the most divisive out of the Indiana Jones movies. But for someone like me who does very much appreciate all that dark, fucked up imagery, I think it just adds to this movie.
Like,
I understand your guys' perspective on it, but just for me personally, I just really love all the dark occult stuff here.
Like, wouldn't this be cool, Tiki, if it was basically you keep the majority of this plot in this movie, you just change one detail. At Indy, he ends up in the Indy Village. I still have issues like how he kind of ends up wrapped up into the same. But putting that on the table, putting it on the side. Indy, he just they ask for his help to save the kids, but it's in this kind of this mystical foreign place, which the Kali Ma guys are in. So pretty much, it's not about getting stones; it's purely about saving the kids.
Yeah, the stones were a little unnecessary, Dragon, I'll give you that much. I think the only reason the stones are there in the first place is just to kind of fill the quota of the mystical, archaeological artifact in every Indiana Jones
Like give them
movie.
archaeological locations, like the Temple of Kali Ma or something, hence the Temple of Doom.
Right. Like my Indiana Jones 5, spoiler alert, I'm not really going to have so much of an actual artifact, it's more going to be a location, it's going to be Al Capone's vault. But it still kind of have some mystical qualities to it in a way.
Again, this guy is such a toyetic guy right here.
He is like
I kill you. Drop him now.
he
So,
just
by the way,
totally feels like a boss in a video game in like the best of ways.
He's so darn cool looking. Anyway, so when Short was hitting him with that staff a moment ago. That was that's made of balsa wood. When Willie Scott was behind him during the scene or something. Basically, when it snapped in two on one take, and it hit her in the eye. It hit the capture on the eye. So you had this big kind of cartoony black eye sty thing.
Oh god.
Looks like kind of paint under her eye the next day or something. So the following day, after she got better from it, or like she put makeup over it or something, everyone on set, as a show of faith, they all put like a little like a shoe polish smudge into their eyes too.
Nice.
Everyone on, even Spielberg, Harrison Ford, all of them, is really adorable. Don't you think Indy would bring more than one gun?
Yeah.
gun before wasn't even a holster. Now he has this holster. You think he had like gun for the holster, gun for the
Especially the
Shanghai.
precarious situation he was getting himself into to begin with the nightclub.
Because you saw in, I want to say in Raiders he had like a few guns in his bag, but I know he had one gun because he held it at the end of the scene. I just wondered if he put some in his his bag when he's packing.
Right.
Anyway. So I love that when people kind of talk about the Harrison Ford back injury, they kind of use the clip of the voodoo doll, like, oh, she's gets stabbed.
Yeah.
And basically, during this fight, mainly, is like whenever Indy's back is turned, that's Vic Armstrong.
Right.
His
Whenever
double.
it's the only time it's Harrison Ford is basically like right there where it's a close up on the face.
Yeah, so basically the weeks that he was laid up, that's when they had kind of Vic Armstrong being kind of the hero of the movie, so they could still shoot their scenes, like, and then just, add in Harrison Ford's reaction shots later on.
Mm-hmm.
This is a gruesome end for this guy, though.
Oh yeah.
Oh, it's great.
But it's always a gruesome end for him.
Yeah.
I mean, the guy who plays him, I guess the overall just reoccurring theme character.
Well, what's
yeah,
worse,
I
being
think this is
killed by
very much
rollers?
equivalent to the propeller death in Raiders.
What's worse, propeller or roller death?
I think the Boulder death.
I would say the propeller,
Really?
just because it's more painful.
Well, here's like the death by Flintstones. Like, it's like a Mafia Flintstones hit.
With the Boulder, it's like you're getting crushed slowly. With the blades, it's like it's just one.
I guess so. I mean,
first it's your feet, then your legs, then your chest, and then.
So I forget, does he go head first or does he go? How does he die?
I think he goes head first and his feet are the last to go in.
No, I don't know. It looks like it's feet first.
Okay,
Yeah,
yeah, you're right.
That's pretty horrific. I don't know. See, that's fine, Dark, because again, it's kind of in line with the propeller death.
Sure.
That's more when you think about it. Oh my God, what's happening to the man? Then you see the blood, the blood running.
Right.
Kick that prince. Burn him. Even better. See again, burn him, snaps him out of it. No fighting back at all.
Yeah, but at least that kind of confirms that he was under the mind control.
Oh yeah, the Maharaj is on the mic. I'm talking about the Prime Minister, though. We don't know if he's what he's. Okie dokie, indeed. And again, pretty much the Maharaj is here is to communicate to exposition. Hey, take the mine cart. Take
Right.
the mine cart on the left.
I just wish we would have seen some like connection before between Short Round and what's the Maharaji, like some kind of friendship before. That would have made that a little bit more powerful, I guess.
Yeah, because all he did was wave to him. That's all he really did. Oh, by the way, that moment right there when Short Round saved her, that's the moment I was talking about. Sorry, I jumped the gun on that before. That's when he hit him. When he hit the guy there, that's what hit her in the face.
Uh-huh.
So, now he was a big Jackie Chan fan, so the actor played Short did like doing this. He kind of viewed himself as like an action hero during that scene. Here we go, folks. Big iconic scene from this movie. And again, it's all the stuff that was intended for Raiders still shows that it was really brilliant stuff that they made in this movie. It's why
I love this sequence so much. This might be my second favorite Indiana Jones sequence after the cold open from Raiders. It's so well put together. It's such a good use between like models and blue screen and close-ups and
a little bit of Iowa magic.
Yeah, they did all these caves with tinfoil.
Right.
Yeah, and they basically redressed the tracks in the set each after going there for a while. So basically, they kind of redress it for per shot. Yeah, so it looks like a different turn and stuff.
Yeah. it's so fast paced, and the editing is so good. It cuts from so many different filmmaking techniques, and they all blend together so well.
Oh yeah, you get kind of the POV of a roller coaster
Mhm.
shot here. I love the payoff, though. I think the payoff gag is pretty hilarious. I think it's funny. I mean, maybe I shouldn't oversell it.
I also love how there's no music here. It's just like the sounds of the rails.
Definitely.
Yeah.
It makes it feel like you're in one of these carts with them.
Yeah. It's a way of getting a car chase without actually having cars. You have cart.
And of course, let's not forget this inspired many video game levels. Probably most famously, the minecart level from Donkey Kong Country.
Yeah, big time in Donkey Kong. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, folks. Just really kind of speaks.
No,
for
I know. It's
Yeah.
just like I'm watching this, and I'm like, oh my god, it's so much fun, and it's so impressive how they pulled it off.
I mean, I love the payoff. I'm just waiting for that moment to happen. So.
I kind of find it hard to believe that these cars don't come off the rails. I mean, there's nothing holding them down.
Well, remember, it's kind of the weight of the people inside, so they're kind of leaning also.
Yeah.
I love the shovel bit.
I know they have a ride like this in, I want to say, Disneyland Paris, or maybe Tokyo Disneyland. I definitely want to say Disneyland Paris. There's a minecart ride for Indiana Jones.
I like Indy's kind of using his know-how here. So okay, I'm gonna break down the barriers here, so basically the slow them down, can have stuff fall on their heads.
Right.
I love coming up the water thing. The thing where basically Indy kind of gets a hot foot trying to stop the thing, and he catches on fire, and he says water, and then you see actually tons of water coming towards him. Water. That's pretty. Again, I think the button on it's really hilarious. You get out of one mess into another. That's what you want to do with Indiana Jones. It's not just out of one
But
mess. And
Dragon,
we're
I
still
do
stuck.
feel like this movie achieved that all the way through. It's not just after the minecarts. I mean, this whole movie, all throughout the whole runtime, is that idea. It's one mess to another.
However, I think that kind of all the Kalimos just we're stuck in a mess though. It's just that we're stuck in a mess. We're kind of living in despair.
I guess so. I don't know. I think there's enough lighthearted bits with this movie where the whole thing doesn't feel dark. I mean, I think that's the thing with this movie. It's like when people call this movie dark, yeah, it has dark sections in it, sure, but I don't think the whole film, like, overall is genuinely depressing or anything like that.
What would you call the third act of this film? Let me say, like, what section dictates? Is the minecart going forward, or is it like?
I'd say the minecart going forward is probably the third act.
Yeah, the third act's my favorite part, though.
Which is fair enough. I mean, it's the most iconic part of the movie. It's most people's favorite part. So.
Yeah, I'd have to say it's my favorite part too. I mean, there's.
I'm saying all the stuff that follows is pretty much this going forward is all really good, solid Indiana Jones stuff.
Yeah, the bridge, the water.
Yeah. Because, first act, again, aside from a great opening sequence, that's when Willie Scott's really at her most annoying, or at least very, very annoying.
Yeah.
Then in the middle there, that's Mills, kind of the cut. That middle's the darkest, oddly enough, again, with the middle one being always the darkest one. The middle it's when things get dark and a little moderately offensive with the food, and then we go into kind of the dark territory, and then we're kind of stuck there until the third act kind of comes along.
But I don't think we really linger on the darkness all that much. I think it's just kind of like a centerpiece of the film. It's not like I don't really think it drags down the pace of the film at all or anything like that.
No, I do feel that it lingers. That's just my take. It's my take.
Okay, fair enough.
If only they made movies like this these days, where it's all practical effects.
Yeah, oh my god, he's practical. The practical and the early ILM effects do hold up great.
Oh, absolutely.
Because, again, even the ILM effects do look very practical in their early years as well. Because they're really working off of like models and stuff as they're kind of their stepping stones into the kind of real world look. Love the show. They're unaware of the water at this point. There's the indie hot folks.
Oh god.
Just love the realization that he's on fire.
Oh dear.
Ooh. He's ruined those shoes. We're not stopping! We're crashing! Not water! Water!
Oh, God. Yeah, that is a pretty good payoff right there.
Ask and ye shall receive, Indy. Now money will rain from the sky! Nope.
And I love how it takes all that to get them out of the temple. It's like what a way to get them out of the temple. My God, what a fucking great climax right here.
Yeah.
And that's what I love about this movie. It just continually just builds and builds and builds on itself. There's no breathing room. It's just kind of like all just wall to wall, just like perilous situations, dark circumstances. It is absolutely the low point of the Indiana Jones movies, but the low point in terms of like, okay, this is some dark, heavy, serious stuff that we're dealing with.
And Kate Capshaw's barefoot here. Didn't notice that before.
Oh God, this is a great short round bit.
Oh, by the way,
It's very sturdy. It's very sturdy. Come on.
Let me mention this with the bridge. So, yeah, this is hilarious. George Lucas is met. Spielberg is afraid of heights, mainly afraid of bridges. So,
And Spielberg won't go down the drop on Jurassic Park the ride.
yeah, he'll Spielberg. He'll go basically 40 yards out on either side. He'll never go in the middle. George Lucas, while they're kind of going around the bridge the first time,
They're like jumping on it.
yeah, Lucas
Here we
is messing
go.
with Spielberg, shaking it
Here's
around.
the knife fight. Here's the sequel to the sword fight right here.
Well, technically, it's the beginning.
I guess so. Yeah.
Which is stupid, because again, it's a great reference to Raiders, and now we can't do that.
It's still a lot of fun though.
It is, it's great. I'm saying it doesn't, when you make it a prequel, you kind of take the teeth out of it a little bit. As a prequel, it's still kind of funny. It's like, okay, well, and he doesn't have a gun to finish us off, and we know what that's in reference to. But again, as a sequel, though, it works a whole lot better. Is that, yes, he's trying to go for the instant solution. I do love it, though, where he just kind of smiles and he runs off in the other direction. He's chased by a whole bunch of other guys.
And that might have been Cape Capshaw's most over-the-top moment right there, is that scream.
I think so.
I do. Again, I love that George Lucas is messing with Spielberg, like, Spielberg saying, "That's not funny, George. Don't do that," because he's genuinely terrified on the bridge. Super curious. And again, I think this bridge solution is so clever and risky, and this is a classic Indiana Jones move right here.
Absolutely.
And again, the fact that he has more reverence for Shiva does accentuate this moment, where it's just like, it's, as the last words, it's really good. After threatening to drop the stones, but they'll be found, you won't. I'll give him that. It's a good moment from Ram there.
Mm-hmm. Oh man, he's got such a good presence to him. I know he's totally one-dimensional, but he's got such a good presence.
I think he was a wrestler, wasn't he?
Could be.
I think he was a wrestler.
Anyway, I do love this. First of all, I love that he was speaking the short man in another language, so they don't know what he's planning.
Mm.
And again, it's so darn clever what Indy has up his sleeve. It's so risky though, but it's so awesome. Just like, again, I love this is also in some of the Suburban Nights from that guy.
Yes.
I just love Brad Jones' Indiana Jones. I just wish they did the gun moment, but they didn't think of it on the day. But they get tons of moments like this and a few from Last Crusade, and it's the whole like, you betrayed Shiva. But it's a little later. But it's right here though. This is.
We go for a ride.
Oh my God! This is awesome. Again, seeing Ram's reaction here is pretty awesome. He's like, thinks, "Oh my God, this guy's crazy." Such an awesome move. It is the Indiana Jones we know and love, right?
Absolutely.
Is the guy. Now, these guys falling here, Tiki, these are dummies that are rigged with motors. Those are actually falling
Yeah,
dummies.
yeah.
Because they actually cut the bridge. It wasn't like a model or anything. Or an idle effect. Like, this is like a... They have
One time, it was a one-time thing.
Yes. Because the people of Sri Lanka, they were building... They built this bridge next to a dam. So basically, it was a little thing they were doing on the side from the movie as the kindness of this. Hey, you're shooting here, we'll do it for you. Don't worry about it. So basically, there's blue screen around here, but it's like a real wall and a real kind of thing they're holding on to. But, you know, it's like blue screen at the bottom, so they're not actually in danger of falling anywhere.
Right.
And they tried before doing it with just regular dummies, but then there wasn't any movement, so it looked fake.
Yeah. Exactly, so then they rigged the motor solution. Is really clever. And this is a cool action set piece, too. You're kind of fighting on a ladder. However, I do, as much as I do love all the bridge stuff, I do have an issue with... basically, the British coming. I completely forgot about the British coming at the last second, and also I think Ram's guys are just terrible shots. They're just awful. Oh, this is awesome. The whole cover your heart thing is still fantastic.
Yes, absolutely.
That's what I'm talking about. Again, I can look past the heart thing if you're gonna do stuff like this later on. Like, cover your heart. You know, it's a great callback and like the danger of because now it's just associated with someone trying to reach for your heart. I love
how the final battle between these two is just so raw and with such high stakes, just literally hanging from a cliff.
Sandy, let me ask you this: do you think that this heart thing still would have been effective if we saw them like in silhouette or something with like the red lighting?
I'm sorry, what was that?
Do you think the heart thing would have still been effective if it was just in silhouette with like red lighting and stuff?
Yeah, I think it would have been effective, and I wouldn't have made it as visually dark.
Yeah, and then later on, just the callback, the tension around, like a guy reaching for your heart, knowing what he's doing.
Yeah, exactly. I think that would have been a better route to go.
Yeah. But yeah, these guys are horrible shots. Look at this. You have three targets right there, and you're like tons of guys with arrows.
Now, I think the biggest issue. The biggest issue with this scene here is the river beneath. Like, if you look at it from like a side view, it looks like it's a little narrow stream.
Yeah.
Below, it looks like a huge river.
Yeah.
I mean, look at that.
That's a perspective issue there. They kind of botched that one up. Again, I do think this whole I do like that it's kind of random, but they don't really explain it. But I kind of like Indy's using the knowledge of Shiva again. Something he could have learned anyway at the beginning, learning about Shiva. About basically knowing like if you say a certain chant, you're going to activate the stones, which I don't know if he knows they're going to set them on fire, but they're going to glow and do stuff. So they fall. Thankfully, he catches the last one there after it burns our baddie. Ah! You betrayed Shiva. Now this is a very iconic fall right here.
Yes.
Yeah.
Love it.
Hilariously done on Family Guy, Michael Eisner.
Right.
Cover your heart! You betrayed the shareholders! Again, terrible shots, these guys.
Yeah.
What the heck?
I mean, they're like right around the leg and stuff, and now again, she calls him on it, but still, where the heck were these guys?
It's a bit of a cop-out, Dragon, I'll give you that much.
The British are useless in this movie. They stink. Oh, now you're shooting them off. Well, thank you for being useful all of a sudden. Yeah, shoot them. Why don't you shoot them all earlier?
Yeah, I mean, you got to admit, they're useful right now. Like, right when they need them, they're useful. Anyways.
He climbs up, and he saved the bounty. The bountiful treasure. Importantly,
he's had a rough day. Dang.
Right.
I really have to wonder how the kids got out of there. I assume they went through the palace, right?
Yeah, it showed it. They went through the palace.
Yeah.
Right. Sorry, I get wrapped up in it.
Now, how they got home and found their way, I don't know.
Well, I mean, I guess they're all gathering around the palace. The British kind of ushering them out and say, "Okay, guys, you lead them back to the village."
Right.
We don't want to be involved in the plot anymore. Yeah, shaman guy, very really kind of pushy shaman guy.
No, he's just stressed out. I mean, come on.
Just now, you send one of your guys to do it. Don't just send like a random guy you're waiting for to. The next guy comes by and says, "Hey, you, Can you bail us out of this? Bail us out of this problem? Let's just dedicate our food and resources to one of our guys and send them in there.
I just realized this like right now, but this is essentially a Mad Max story within an Indiana Jones movie.
Jeez.
Because Mad Max is all about him just getting like randomly intertwined in other people's cultures and kind of having to help them out for his own self-benefit.
Mm. And again, this is a feel-good moment. This is great. Indiana Jones saving the kids, bringing them back. That's all really nice.
Sure. Like I said, I think it just gives the movie a more personal goal than just kind of like getting to the Ark or getting the Holy Grail. The personal goal with this is very much rescuing the kids, and that's something that anyone can relate to.
There was a subplot they kind of deleted that sounded interesting. I don't know how they would have done it, but there was a subplot of Indy he saves the item in question. I guess there was going to be something negative associated with the item, and there's going to be a question of for Indy was going to have a big choice at the end here of whether to give the village the item or not back.
Mm-hmm.
It looks like a loaf of bread, to be honest.
It looks like I was saying more potato, but you know.
Oh.
With the three, I get the three little markings there. It does look vaguely bread-like, small bread. And I do like this though. I like Indy kind of saying, it's. Realize that he should have returned the item to the village instead of putting it in a museum. Because these guys they felt they needed it, whether it actually had the magical properties to bring back the land or not. Because apparently it does, but it's kind of up in the air with him forgetting the supernatural every movie.
Good, go, leave us, never return to this franchise again.
But again, just for reasons, Indy's going to get the girl in the end. And why he would want her, we got no idea. But, importantly, he's just whipped the girl. It's important to whip her in the shape,
Exactly. That's what makes it all worthwhile.
Be a better character. But you know what? She'd enjoy it, though, because she's just so anti-good movie.
And you know what? Steven Spielberg, one of his, great quotes, I guess, of the bonus features, he said, at the end of the movie, Indiana Jones got the girl, but in real life, I got the girl.
It was
something along those lines.
It's a great Spielberg quote, though. I'm so glad he used it.
And as much as I don't really like the idea of these two ever hooking up, it is a very triumphant way to end. With the kids all rushing out and everything.
And again, much like that one sequence, had we liked her more, would have been nice.
Yeah.
But we don't.
Okay, and that was Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. Let's go round table and give our final thoughts. Dragon, you want to start?
Well, it shows how during the making of this movie, George Lucas just wanted to get through meetings quickly, and Spielberg was just focusing on bringing the visuals to life, and they're both going through stuff. And really, I think it just shows in the process that they really didn't. I guess since George Lucas just didn't dedicate time to really fine-tune the script, he said, well, it's good enough. Let's just make sure we shoot it kind of a different way, kind of a dark way. And Spielberg was like, okay, let's go with the challenge. He infused humor as much as he could. It kind of shows that it's kind of a. It's not. I get a sense not them on their. It's not them on their writing A game, but it's Spielberg on his directing A game, most certainly. Aside from the 6 iconic moments, I just think overall the story still is pretty weak, and it goes a little too dark in places, unnecessary. It's my view on it. I get the arguments. I still feel the way I do. I mean, Indy. I barely care about what they're going after. Aside from the kids, again, I'll admit I care more about the kids' angle of it. But again, I wish it was a little bit more focused on. Yeah, we're definitely doing this purely to save the children, but again, we have to work in the item. So I'm not really invested in the item. It's a little too unfamiliar. I'm not really seeing the actual purpose of
value.
Yeah, the item of value. Aside from Short Round, the characters aren't that fleshed out, and all the villains are style over substance for me. Again, don't get me wrong, it's cool style. It's cool style. I wish they had a little more substance to it. But again, the Prime Minister seemed like he might have been a cool villain, but he isn't. He's in ambiguous territory. Like, is he bad? Is he not bad? Is he? It seems like he has some tension with Indy in that dinner conversation, but again, nothing really done with that.
Right.
It's more survival over adventure. End of the day, again, third act really kind of is in the direction I wanted the movie to go. I think there are definitely, again, last thing I'm going to say, but we'll just kind of end it on a higher note, what I'm saying here. I don't mean to just kind of continually bash the movie, just how I feel. But in the end, though, there are a lot of solid, iconic moments with a weak story, but again, very solid and iconic. And it boils down to India versus kind of an evil Hindi cult to steal back a magic rock. And it's about... It seems like there might be more things it could be about, but there's kind of missed opportunities because they were just kind of doing an Indiana Jones movie to crank out an Indiana Jones movie, get a little experimental with it, but I wish they just dedicate a little bit more time and revision to it, you know?
All right. Sandy, final thoughts?
Well, you know, Spielberg knew that if he didn't do another indie movie that someone else was going to, so he took the chance, he took the opportunity, and I personally think it turned out well, even though it was a little bit darker than I personally would want it to be. I think it turned out well for the most part. Like Dragon said, there were some missed opportunities, and I wasn't really invested in the whole rock thing. Of course, the children were a missed opportunity. Saving them was a whole thing they missed there. I still love this. I love this movie, even though it's darker than I would like it. I still love it because it's Indiana Jones. And it's Spielberg. I mean, you can't go wrong with that, really. Unless it's Indiana Jones 4.
Yeah, we'll get into that. Like I said, folks, for me personally, I pretty much love this film for the entire runtime. I love the stuff in Shanghai. I love all the stuff with the plane crash. I love India in the jungle with the elephants and everything.
Yeah, Shanghai, I'll give you that. I definitely love that to pieces. All the way through.
Yeah, Shanghai is really cool.
Just all the way through, for me, this movie has great set pieces for me. And, Willie Scott's the obvious problem with it. I'm not gonna deny that. Willie Scott is definitely the black blemish on this movie. Probably one of the big blemishes on this whole franchise. But I think people give Short Round a lot of shit for being annoying when he's really not that annoying, and I think a lot of his humor actually worked within the context of the movie.
Oh, yeah.
And like I said, guys, last thing I'll say about the darkness of the movie, I think the darkness just makes this movie all the more memorable. To me, Temple of Doom is an indie sequel / prequel / follow-up, whatever you want to call it. To me, it holds up better just personally because I feel like Last Crusade, they were trying to go back to just mimicking what worked in Raiders, whereas in this movie, they were trying to take a big risk, and it might not have paid off all the way, but it certainly made for a memorable end game and a memorable final product when the movie was said and done. So,
and just to go back to Short Round really quick, I really don't understand why people have to give him so much crap. I mean, if we didn't have Short Round, the movie I think would have been a lot even darker than what it really is, because with him, he brings a light-hearted spirit to the whole thing.
Yeah.
With his humor and his character.
Yeah, but seriously, the movie we would have liked to see. Indy, Short Round, and Woo going on an adventure. Right?
Yeah.
Am I right?
Yeah. And then maybe kind of like a prequel story of how Indy and Marion hooked up to begin with.
Honestly, I would be interested, again, if they really, it just feels, the reason I keep harping on the prequel thing, folks, because it feels so haphazard, because again, it doesn't feel like a prequel at all, except for the fact that there's nothing that
except for the fact that they stick the date at the beginning.
Aside from that, there's nothing indicating this is a prequel. Again, like a Bond thing, we kind of change up the love interest each movie. But again, if they've actually Spielberg had toyed with the idea of let's go in the prequel direction. If they wanted to flesh out Marion, also they kind of toyed with Abner, perhaps kind of Abner perhaps being kind of the unintentional villain, perhaps to again explain the fallout. There were some ideas they could have explored. We don't know. Again, I would have been interested to see them do that. They didn't necessarily have to go in that route, but that would have been a little more interesting committal to, we're doing a prequel, and we'd like Marion and Crane get to see things play out. Missed opportunities in this film.
Regardless, I think what we got was very memorable, and I think what we got was probably like totally the most distinct of the Indiana Jones movies.
I give it an 8 out of 10.
I would probably give it a 9 out of 10, and I give Raiders a 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
Whereas Last Crusade, I give an 8 out of 10. So that's kind of like my rankings right there.
I might give this one like a generous 7 out of 10.
A generous 7. Okay, fair enough.
7 to 7.5, right? Depending on what mood I'm in.
Okay.
I'd give Crusade a 9.
I'm with you there. So I could definitely get on board with a 9 Crusade.
And folks, Last Crusade is next on our docket, and that's just be prepared for that one, because that's just going to be me not being the biggest Last Crusade fan while still liking it and while still appreciating what it has to say. And then the three other people just kind of like bashing me into oblivion, just telling me I'm a horrible person.
Yep.
So I'm very much prepared for that.
We're going to make him pick between Holy Grails, and if he picks the wrong one, we're just going to do an impression of, he chose poorly.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us, folks. Sandy, I know you were kind of on the fence about joining us for this one, but thanks for coming on.
I had fun
having you. And I guess that's it. So, folks, it's time to seal up the crate, return home, and hang up our hats until the next adventure on Indiana August.
But Tiki, who's going to get the crate?
Top men, Dragon. You hear me? Top men.